There's a whole cult going on over there with a bunch of hooded guys glorifying a red crystal sitting right in the middle of the altar. Out of nowhere, a demon gets sliced in half, and we see this crazy dude throwing attacks everywhere. That wild one is Ray Chang, the sword master. He's shouting to the soldiers that he'll clear a path and tells them to follow him. Then an old man shows up, casting magic while riding a T-Rex. That's the necromancer Jorb Vilmer. And here she comes, the one everyone's been waiting for. Our blonde priestess, Maria Jaeger. She points her sword and yells, "We need to stop the summoning ritual." Then someone says, "Too late." The red crystal starts glowing with strange lights, ready to explode. It begins to split apart, and suddenly a system message pops up saying the tower's rank has been changed to hard mode. There's a huge explosion, and some monstrous thing crawls out of the crystal. The system flashes again. The tower objective has been updated. Everyone is frozen, staring at the boss. This is the boss of Season 5, the Plague Elder. To me, he looks like a Walmart goblin. In the blink of an eye, he's slashing in every direction, sending soldiers flying. The system shows the new objective: eliminate the Plague Elder. Meanwhile, the frontline soldiers are getting crushed by tentacles. They're all dead already. Our blonde priestess is sweating bullets, doing everything she can to withstand the Plague Elder's attacks. The boss keeps whipping those tentacles around, wiping everyone out. Ray, trembling with fear, says he doesn't want to die and starts running. A soldier nearby calls out to him, but he's already sprinting away like a bullet train. Then in Walmart, Piccolo raises his blade and asks where that foolish human thinks he's going. He swings, destroying everything around him. And just as Ray is about to be erased, someone appears, blocking the Plague Elder's strike. The background characters are in shock, realizing they're saved, because that man is the Hero King. Honestly, I thought the Sword Master was the protagonist, but turns out he's just a coward who ran away and nearly died from a single strike. Anyway, there he is, our golden boy, standing there with that serious protagonist face. Without hesitation, he charges at the boss, who counters with a barrage of slashes aimed at our hero. Just like Sun Jinwoo, he deflects every single one of Walmart Piccolo's attacks. The Plague Elder gives a slight grin, and the two are about to clash. A massive explosion erupts, everyone's scrambling to protect themselves, even our blonde priestess. She shouts his name, "Can you, Sung?" I knew it. Of course there had to be a Sung in there somewhere. While exchanging blows, the Plague Elder snarls, "To think you dare attack me alone? How foolish. The hope of humanity, the Hero King, shall drown in a sea of plagues." With a smug grin, Walmart Piccolo says he'll die there with no one coming to help him. But our boy doesn't seem to care about what the Elder's saying. He's more worried about not letting people see his full power. He gives this confident smile and says, "Let's finish this." The boss, looking completely lost, can't understand what's happening. A lightning bolt descends from the sky, striking and obliterating our Walmart Piccolo. Everyone tries to shield themselves from the shockwave. George just stands there with a dumbfounded face, not believing what he's seeing. Then all the soldiers start cheering that they've won, while our boy stands there in the middle of it all, completely chad. With that, the system announces that the Plague Elder has been defeated, and all players in the top 100 will receive an equipment ticket of rare rank or higher. For the top 10 players, it's a heroic rank ticket. Obviously for our boy, it's a mythic rank ticket, Black Death, and the title of Elder Slayer, since he's the one who took down the boss. Then he collapses onto the ground, lying there deep in thought. Thanks to this, the world can go on for one more year. The scene cuts to an interview where they're introducing our boy as rank 1 among heroes for 4 consecutive years. A hero among heroes, the king, Kang Yu-sun. He's just standing there with that blank expression while they take 1,000 photos of him. Looks like the guy's really famous. There's even a little girl holding a plushie of him, and some guys selling shirts with his face on them. Back in the interview, someone asks if he'd like to say something to all the heroes present. Maria instantly grabs his arm and begs him to say something polite. She clasps her hands together and says, "This is a live broadcast, so please don't mess it up." Apparently, there's a whole bunch of heroes gathered there. Maria's sweating more than I do after 5 minutes at the gym. And now we find out this interview is taking place at the UN in Geneva, Switzerland. Smiling, our boy grabs the mic and says something that would probably get the video demonetized if I repeated it here, then adds that he does all of this just for the money. Right away, everyone's stunned. Maria nearly has a heart attack. He slams his hand on the table and says, "I've been tired of this for a long time. Doing everything alone is too hard." In the next chapter, we see how it all started. The world turned into a game, and countless towers appeared in the sky. After a few days, monsters began pouring out of them, wiping out humanity. A massive goblin swings his blade, and everyone realizes this is the end of the world. A gorgeous woman lies on the ground. We've only got one beauty left, and a second one's about to die. "Run, girl." Blood splatters everywhere as she cries. Then a badass shows up, slicing the goblin's arm clean off. These are the players. They hunt monsters and protect people. Then the New World laws are revealed, explaining that the phenomenon of monsters leaving the towers can be prevented, as long as the towers are cleared within the time limit. Classic cliche, right? That's why players with superpowers were seen as heroes of the New World. We cut back to our boy saying he's tired of it all and only does it for money. Meanwhile, that clown's sitting there like L from Death Note, watching himself and telling the audience to buy his shirts and posters. He checks the PF, the player forum, where players trade info and items. The protagonist typing something. wondering how they even know it's him. Some people ask to join his group while others are curious about who he really is. One guy says he's a reporter and that he's heading to his house when the new season starts. Our boy stands up, looks out the window, and sees the place swarming with reporters, something he absolutely hates. He walks out all Chad, like hands in his pockets, and a reporter rushes up, asking how he plans to face the new season and what he meant when he said he's been tired for a long time. Smirking, our boy asks, "You know what celebrities say on TV after they drink themselves stupid and cause trouble?" The slick guy smiles and says he'll make up for it with good work. The reporters just stand there confused, wondering what that even means. Honestly, I didn't get it either. Moving on. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking. A tremor hits. The little system pops up announcing that Season 6 has begun and players should check the information before entering the tower. The system, all cute as usual, reminds everyone to be careful when descending the tower. A bunch of towers start appearing, and the system warns, "Conquer the towers and protect the world from destruction." The reporters are all frozen, staring up at the sky, while our Slee boy just pulls his hood up and walks away, leaving behind a pile of flyers advertising his shirts and plushies. The digital marketing king himself. Then we see a system notification saying someone has reached their destination. Our boy's already there, saying there's no one around and that the first day of the season is always quiet. Then a group of elders shows up laughing and granting him blessings. The bald one with horns is the Elder of Steel, and the blue-haired elf woman is the Elder of Ice. He's just standing there scratching his cheek while receiving all kinds of blessings from them. Apparently, there are these transcendent beings who watch over the players, and the more you fool around, the more the elders like you, rewarding you with totally broken blessings. Just like when he pulled that stunt during the UN interview. Damn bullies. That same day, the Elder of Gold bursts out laughing like a maniac and grants him the blessing of the legendary gacha. Basically, our boy's luck gets boosted for 3 gachas, guaranteeing him at least 1 legendary reward. This is completely broken, people. The rascal grins and says, "Open all unclaimed rewards at once." He raises his hand, and we already see that golden glow. The idiot looks just like me opening cases in Counter-Strike, thinking I'm about to pull the knife. But since he's the protagonist, of course he gets a legendary cloak that's absurdly overpowered. There are so many stats it would take an hour just to summarize them. Basically, it has 999 evasion, and when equipped, it can activate the Seraph Shield skill, which has a cooldown of 168 hours. Our boy smiles, thinking, a legendary armor, a legendary skill, and a legendary artifact. Then he poses like a total Chad, with his hands in his pockets and says, "Enter the tower." He's teleported, and right then another message pops up. The Elder of Gold has removed the legendary gacha blessing and replaced it with the blessing of shirt sales. Man, I need an elder like that in my life. He arrives at the tower where a giant green foot stomps down and an orc bellows, "Kill the human." Our boy's in the Moonblood Orc Tribe Tower, Tier 3. Smirking, he says it's time to test his new skills. Create Ice Blade. He conjures the blade, thanks the Ice Elder, and charges forward, delivering a devastating slash. The orcs are stunned. One tries to swing an axe but gets frozen mid-attack. Our boy doesn't stop. He keeps firing off icy slashes in every direction. In just a second, it's over. He strolls through the frozen orcs looking like an absolute Chad. He gains a ton of attributes and levels up on the spot. A message appears, "First floor cleared." Scratching his head and smiling, he says it's a good start. Maybe he'll save the world or something again. Then he reaches the second floor, already wearing that sad face like me on a Monday morning. Looking down, there's a bunch of orcs drinking, partying, and shouting. One of them notices the protagonist, and suddenly they're all yelling to kill the hero, vowing to fight with honor until their last breath. But our boy is unstoppable. He calmly tells them to relax, and he leaps into the air, shouting that he'll send them all to heaven. The scene cuts to someone climbing stairs. It's just our protagonist reaching the 4th level of the tower, thinking, I really enjoy earning EXP, but this is tough without a rest floor. And something catches his attention. Looking ahead, there's a group of elite orcs blocking the path to the boss. He just stares at them, thinking how painfully obvious this setup is. Then the little system window pops up again, saying, "Fight for your life with honor." Another message appears. The Elder of Iron has blessed the elite orcs. The leader of the orcs starts shouting that the Elder of Iron has blessed them. All those fools begin yelling, "Valhalla awaits us." And yeah, those poor extras are really about to fight our protagonist. They even start singing some song for the Elder of Iron while charging straight at our boy. Kang calls for a break and starts preparing himself, slashing in every direction. But then something catches his attention. One orc comes in low while another leaps from above, ready to finish him off. He dodges and swings from behind with a slash, but it does no damage. He mutters that he knew it. These are elite orcs, their defense has been greatly enhanced. A few orcs try to land hits, but he keeps jumping and dodging everything. Looking at them, he says he'll need something big to take them down, but he doesn't have any other skills. That's when he remembers an artifact and opens his inventory. Staring at it, he says he's not sure if he can handle using it right now. The orcs, getting angrier, shout for him to come down and fight like a real warrior. One of them hurls a massive axe at him, and that's when our boy decides it's no time to be scared of using something powerful. He equips the artifact. The little system pops up. You have equipped the Frozen Heart. You have gained the effects of glacial synergy. Holding his ice blade, our boy mutters that old saying, rich get richer, and the strong get stronger. An orc swings his huge axe, but it's blocked. Our boy's left arm transforms into a shield of ice and slash. He slices the goblin clean in half. The poor goblin lies frozen on the floor as our boy keeps leveling up. Two more orcs try to ambush him from behind, but he blocks everything. He grips their weapons tightly, freezing and shattering them to pieces. The orcs are in shock, completely lost on what to do. Then he prepares another strike and slash. Two orcs down. Another one jumps trying to crush him, but he's already been cut down midair, splattered against the ceiling. Meanwhile, our protagonist just keeps leveling up. In full Sung Jinwoo style, Kang now holds two daggers, and one of the orcs gives that "oh no, we're screwed" look. Honestly, I get you, orc. I'd think the same in your place. And then comes the cutting spree, slashes here, there, and an X-shaped one right through. Yeah, this protagonist definitely a Son apprentice. He's unstoppable, launching another wave of slashes, and the orc can only stare, not even understanding what's happening. Standing there like a total Chad, says, another floor cleared. Grinning, he adds that he forgot one, turns around and launches a giant ice orb straight into an orc's face, dropping him lifeless to the ground. Then comes the flood of messages. You have cleared the elite floor. He starts receiving random skills and 1,000 achievement points. Stepping on the poor orc's back, he commands, open skill box. A blue flash of light blinds everything around, and he gets a common skill. He groans, disappointed, saying he thought it would be a legendary one. Name, thrust. Basically converts a physical skill into a piercing attack. Walking forward, he says, a common skill, huh? Well, better than nothing. Equip skill. He opens a gate and arrives at what looks like the center of the tower. Someone greets him and compliments him for still being alive. Our boy replies that it sounded kind of disappointing. The little elf girl answers, not at all. I need you alive so I can sell more items. She checks his total points and says, 1,600 points? That's a lot. You better spend them before you die. This is Automata, the Shopkeeper, a creation of the Elder of Machines. The protagonist asks to see what she's selling. She starts offering various card packs, saying he might pull a legendary one. Don't fall for that, kid, and always do every time I open a case in CS2. After that advice, the protagonist only spends 300 points buying one speed potion and one fire potion. He's already walking away while Automata keeps yelling for him to buy those card packs, but our boy, now fully convinced, covers his ears saying he can't hear anything. And boom, the little system pops up announcing that he's entered the boss floor. He faces the boss, who says, it's time to fight. In the blink of an eye, the boss is right in front of him, launching an attack which he blocks using a magic barrier. But the barrier shatters and our boy's in shock. He retreats, saying this guy's huge and that the other orcs were like dwarfs in comparison. He quickly grabs the fire potion and throws it straight at the boss's face, setting everything ablaze. Yeah, looks like we're having grilled orc today, or maybe not because the boss roars and cancels all fire magic. But our sneaky boy's already behind him, thrusting at the back of the boss's neck. He swings down a vertical slash at full speed, cutting straight through the boss's chest. The protagonist smiles, saying that wasn't a bad fight. Then some green slime drips onto the ground and the boss growls, saying it's not over yet. He roars and activates his berserk skill. Kang glances back with a grin, saying he does my little challenge. The boss starts unleashing his full power and our boy activates his shield. With that sarcastic tone, he says, if that shockwave had hit me, I'd be dead right now. The boss charges again, launching a double strike that shatters his shield. But Kang backs off, starting a countdown. He keeps defending himself as best as he can while counting 113. He jumps, dodges another strike, 59, 3, 2. He grabs the fire potion bottle from the ground. At 1, he lets it fly. Ding. Perfect pose for a photo. Looks like the berserk mode ran out and the boss collapses with a crater in his chest. And here we go again. The system floods him with messages saying he's cleared the orc tower and will receive tons of rewards. Out of all of them, the most important is the aspect skill card pack. It can give either a common or a legendary skill. He tells it to open, boom, common skill. He's left there looking bored, having received a skill called Ice Projectile. Checking it, he complains that this game sucks, then walks off. The next chapter starts in the Tower of the Dark Sadness. What a lame name, author. Let's be more creative, please. Some little demons are already rushing toward our boy, but he's standing still, charging a skill. He unleashes the new skill on them. Then he spreads his arms and says he loves leveling up his skills. Skill up notification pops up and the system warns that Wave 2 is about to begin. A whole army of purple demons appears, ready to finish off the protagonist. Kang grins and says, give me 1 second, guys, and I'll give you exactly what you're asking for. Slash. A blue flash slices through everything. Skill leveled up. Then someone calls him a filthy heretic. He just stands there watching, and that's when the Devil Bishop, the tower boss, shows up, declaring that he'll offer Kang's blood to the Demon King. The bishop, looking like a horned monkey, points his finger and yells, attack him, kill him. Before his servants can even move, they're already slashed, sent flying. The boss turns around, completely lost, and our boy wastes no time. He slashes him too. When the bishop finally looks, it's too late. He's frozen solid like a popsicle. Our boy walks toward him, saying this is perfect. Now he can test several skills. For example, how many ice weapons he can create at his current level. He grabs the spears and starts his dart session, throwing one after another at the bishop, who takes every single hit and ends up full of holes like Swiss cheese. But there's still one left. He throws it with all his strength, and the bishop gets completely vaporized. Notifications pop up. He receives another random equipment choice, tells the system to open it, and gets a common armor. He says he doesn't need it since he already has a legendary one. Scratching his chin, he mutters that he didn't feel much of a power difference when using 8 ice blades. Suddenly, a message appears: confront your shadow. He turns around and sees a huge event window. Basically, within the realm of the towers, there are factions led by the elders. These factions try to form alliances with players to expand their influence, and players can complete the factions' missions to earn better rewards. Looks like our boy already accepted it, because now we're at the meeting of the Shadow Council. Apparently, he's already part of this council since one of the guys there says they remember him. Then another asks, will you face your shadow and once again become one with our deepest secrets? Our boy stands there thinking, saying that the Shadow Council really is good, but then he speaks up. You all know I'd like to join, but there are too many factions that don't like you. Walmart Crow responds, you'll be protected by our cloak. Have you forgotten what we're capable of? He replies that he hasn't forgotten, and that's exactly why he's unsure. The man asks, then what do you desire? Our boy's been waiting for that question. He grins, thinking he's not joining for free. He extends his hand and says he wants the Beast of Shadows, and while he's at it, also requests a rare dark skill card. The Shadow Crows deflate, not knowing what to say. One of them hisses, don't overestimate yourself, mortal. You mortals are nothing but. Kang cuts him off, saying, all right, whatever. It was nice meeting you, and I hope we never meet again. Goodbye. Someone from the back calls out for him to wait. Suddenly, a shadowy cat appears, and yeah, it's adorable, even though it's a creature of darkness. Right, guys? Team Cats forever. It jumps toward the protagonist, and a message appears. You've received the Beast of Shadows. Along with that, he earns a special achievement, Hidden Adoption. The Shadow Beast sits proudly at his feet, looking badass as ever, and he also gets 100,000 achievement points. Okay, the author definitely broke the system there. Kang's all smiles, petting the cat when another reward shows up, the rare skill Shadow Blade. The Crow Elder, clearly disappointed, asks if that's all. Look at that smug grin. He says, fantastic. I'll join the Shadow Council. The scene cuts to our boy stretching, saying this season's off to a great start. He adds that maybe he'll take a little time to rest. Then 2 guys show up behind him, calling out his name. He turns around startled, sighs, and says, damn it, here we go again. A bunch of reporters rush in, asking the same questions as always. How he managed to clear 2 Tier 3 towers in one day, and begging him to explain how he did it. He stands there with his eyes closed and annoyed by the flashes and says, I'm good, I guess. Impressive, right? One reporter mentions there are rumors that the Sword Master from China also cleared a Tier 4 tower, saying things are getting competitive this season. Kang looks surprised, wondering, Tier 4? Then asks how many people were with him. The reporter says the Sword Master was accompanied by 5 veterans from the Chinese guild, but 4 of them were killed in battle. Crossing his arms, our boy comments that the guy must be extremely talented at using human shields. One of the reporters asks if he's implying that the Sword Master is intentionally using people like that. At that same moment, news breaks that the Sword Master has just entered a level 5 tower. The protagonist asks, how many victims this time? They reply that he went alone. Crossing his arms again, he says someone's full of energy and excitement for the very first day. He thinks to himself that it makes no sense to rush into the towers right at the start of the season. That's why the Sake is busy gathering skills and items, and the Necromancer is dealing with his own business. Still thinking, he says the Sword Master must have gotten some incredible loot from that level 4 tower. The reporters won't give him a single moment of peace and start asking what he thinks about the Sword Master. Scratching his ear with the most cynical look imaginable, he says the Sword Master is a total idiot. The reporters are stunned, asking if he isn't planning to compete with the Idiot Master. Raising his hand, he says, I guess you still don't know me well enough. I'm an idiot too, but I'd rather be the idiot who wins. Not knowing what else to say, the reporters ask him to reconsider his words. Changing the subject, our boy asks who can take him to the level 5 tower. The scene cuts to him stepping on a glowing golden circle. Suddenly, several system windows pop up saying that a betting game among the elders has begun, hosted by the Elder of Jesters. The Monarch of Frost bets in his favor and tells him not to disappoint him. In the Tower of War, a massive historical defense battle awaited. Players couldn't be on the same side. The goal of the raid was simple: emerge victorious. Our boy already knew the Sword Master would be there. This was the chance he'd been waiting for. The moment he saw it, he entered the tower. He immediately receives a system message. The ruthless Cavalith Empire has launched a war of conquest and has reached the fortress of the Kingdom of Rhodia. The outcome of this historic battle rests in your hands. Kang has to choose between conquest and defense. He hesitates for a second, unsure of what to do. Then he notices that the Sword Master already chose the Cavalith Empire. Without thinking, he selects the Kingdom of Rhodia. Since they were at a disadvantage, the rewards would be even greater. In an instant, he's teleported into a meeting room with the officers of the Kingdom of Rhodia. Everyone bursts out cheering, shouting that player has arrived. There's even a crazy blonde guy thanking God and others hugging each other in joy. Looking around, he realizes everyone's already preparing for the incoming war. He pulls up a chair and asks who's in command. All the soldiers go silent. Then a pair of boots steps forward. A man introduces himself as Muda Dusham, the fortress's defense commander. The chubby guy starts rambling about being part of the royal family and blah blah blah, but our protagonist cuts him off and asks if he really wants to win this battle. All confident, the egghead nods and says yes, claiming that while they may lack military strength, the kingdom's spirit is unmatched. While the fat guy keeps talking, Kang suddenly punches him in the gut, sending him rolling like a bowling ball. The protagonist stands tall and declares that he's in command now. Looking at the trembling soldiers, he asks them to brief him on their troops and the Empire's as well. Then we cut to him overlooking the kingdom thinking, 5,000 soldiers and about 900 archers. An army completely insignificant compared to the Empire's forces. Luckily, it seems there are no mages in this world or any magic at all. Besides that, the Swordmaster's skill set isn't exactly made for fighting large groups of enemies. He's the Apostle, the Elder of Steel. Normally, players can only be contracted to a single Elder. As a result, they can only receive rewards from that one monarch. I'm a special case. I can receive rewards from several. I'm the only one with that privilege thanks to the Monarch of Jesters. On the other hand, monarchs can be contracted by multiple players, but only one player can be chosen as an apostle. Monarchs give massive support to their apostles, but in return, they face heavy limitations. For example, the Swordmaster can't fully unleash any skill that doesn't relate to the Monarch of Steel. Feeling confident, he thinks this battle can be won, but the soldiers around him are trembling in fear. No one truly knows how real the kingdoms inside the towers are. It might be real people, or just imagined beings that exist only within the towers. Although at this point, I doubt it really matters. Now, how am I going to raise their morale? The scene shifts to birds flying overhead and someone shouting that the player has come to save the kingdom. They also announce that Duke Muda Dusham has been dismissed from his position as commander and that the player has taken over. Some soldiers start cheering, saying that finally that pig has been removed and a player will lead them instead. Our boy smiles because just by firing Duke Muda, the troops' morale has shot through the roof. Suddenly, Kang hears a loud noise. A soldier reports that enemy troops have started their assault. The archers begin raining arrows down, and one enemy soldier gets hit right in the mouth as he tries to climb up. Another soldier shouts that the enemies are trapped at the gates. Stopping them now will crush their morale completely. Our boy grins and calls for the Beast of Shadows. And honestly, I thought the Beast of Shadows was a cat, but no. It's basically a gigantic Tyrannosaurus Rex. He grips his sword and tells his kitty to show its power. The enemy soldiers are terrified, asking what that thing is. One of them says he can feel a massive dark presence behind the walls. The commander orders them to hold formation and stay focused. But mid-sentence, a scream echoes and everyone asks what's happening. Slash, blood sprays everywhere, the sound of blades cutting fills the air, and dozens of soldiers are impaled. One panicked soldier runs, yelling that it's a monster and that they need to retreat to another wall. But our boy's already there, freezing them all with his ice powers, saying that his little kitty's hungry. He smirks and says, "Enjoy your snack." Chomp. The Beast of Shadows wipes them all out. The next chapter begins with a rain of arrows falling over the enemy soldiers. Meanwhile, our boy is unleashing icy slashes across the entire battlefield. Then he suddenly has a realization. Where's the Swordmaster? Our protagonist thinks it through. It's a double-edged situation. It's great for boosting morale, but it will also expose him to the enemy player. A soldier shouts that the enemy player is fighting on the front lines. However, this isn't a fight to the death. Just like any other game, this tower has its own rules. When one player is defeated by another, the loser is simply expelled from the tower, and their attempt is marked as failed. Players can't kill each other inside the towers, but the tower itself can kill a player. Our boy thinks to himself that he's not dying here, but that doesn't mean he'll accept defeat. With a serious expression, he says, "So that's how it's gonna be," and immediately releases a storm of blades at the enemy soldiers, cutting them all down. Frustrated, he wonders if the Swordmaster is just going to wait until everyone's dead. Then something strange starts happening with the swords around them. One allied soldier looks up and yells, "The swords! They're moving on their own." All the blades suddenly start flying straight toward our boy. He's analyzing the situation, realizing the Swordmaster is using a sword telekinesis technique. He wonders how the guy managed to control such a heroic skill. Was it luck? Or did the Monarch of Steel grant it to him? Leaping into the air, he dodges a sword coming straight for him. While weaving through the flying blades, he admits that this guy really came prepared. Smirking, he says, "But I wasn't exactly sitting around either." He lands, channeling his shadow power, and shatters a wave of swords rushing his way. Mocking his opponent, he says, "Too late, buddy. I've already finished perfecting my shadow blade skill." The enemy soldiers shout in panic. The player's here. He's with the Cavalith Empire and fights for the Emperor. Our boy realizes the Swordmaster is only here for him. The enemy soldiers start getting fired up, saying the battle's turning in their favor. Smirking, our boy draws his ice sword and says they'll need a lot more than that to bring him down. He drives his sword into the ground, knowing that the more blades that are summoned, the weaker the ability becomes. Preparing to counter the attack, he says, "That's not going to work." He grins and a shield materializes. A moment later, we see someone trying to defend against the blast. The shield shatters and the enemy is thrown backward. Looking completely Chad, protagonist mocks him, saying, "You didn't actually think that power would be enough to defeat me, did you? You didn't think about attacking the fortress instead with that little sword telekinesis of yours?" Annoyed, the sword master says, "Do you even know the victory conditions for this tower? Even if we destroy the fortress and the soldiers, the Empire only wins by defeating you." Kang replies, "And you still chose to side with them knowing that. So you're the one who's going to defeat me." The sword master declares that a hero's duty is to protect the world, and that scum like Kang would never understand that. Growing angrier, he yells that Kang doesn't deserve to be called the Hero King. Kang fires back, "I guess your guild members aren't included in that world you're supposed to protect, huh?" The sword master, furious, charges at him, shouting, "I won't let you die peacefully." Smiling, the protagonist says, "Don't worry, I'm not dying before you do." He blocks with an ice shield and counterattacks. The sword master shouts that such tricks are useless, but then suddenly feels a presence behind him. He spins around, blade raised, ready to fight. He knows the Mars are watching and losing here could cost him dearly. Kang turns back with a grin and says, "I'm not fighting you," leaping in the opposite direction. The sword master is confused. He doesn't understand where Kang is going. Then it hits him. The reason Kang fought so openly from the start wasn't to boost the soldiers' morale. Our boy is sprinting straight toward the enemy troops who are already panicking and running the other way. The sword master accelerates after him, shouting furiously, "Stop right now, use it on Kang." The scene cuts to the commander's tent, where the soldiers outside are screaming about a monster and telling everyone to run. The commander, angry and confused, asks what the intruder is doing while the guards try to calm him down. Suddenly, our protagonist bursts into the tent saying, "Found you." With a sharp look, he adds, "There's always more than one way to win a game," and prepares to strike. In the next chapter, the soldiers are shouting as Kang charges forward, slashing horizontally and cutting the commander clean in half. The sword master arrives moments later, shouting, "You bastard." Kang mocks him, saying, "You should have kept your commander hidden. Didn't you realize all I needed to do was stop the Empire's advance?" The sword master, enraged, rushes at Kang with everything he's got, but his sword suddenly disappears. The system announces it's too late. The tower has been cleared. Kang now gets to choose one of the sword master's abilities. He has 3 options. Frustrated, the sword master growls, "You bastard, I'll kill you. You'll die by my hands." Kang keeps teasing him as he selects the sword master's ability, saying, "You want me to take this one? Then I won't say no." The system pops up. "You have stolen the sword telekinesis skill and gained the metal synergy effect." Outraged, the sword master screams, "This isn't over. Do you hear me, Kang?" Smiling, our boy thanks him and says he's looking forward to the next skill. Then the scene shifts. It looks like a dream. A mask falls to the ground and our boy sees a familiar vision. The system appears, talking about a boy of many faces and many talents, while Kang stands there, completely serious. The system continues, asking if he wants to become a hero. Picking up the mask from the ground, he says he always dreams of this around this time of year, and his decision is always the same. Out of nowhere, a creepy clown shows up laughing, saying, "You should become the hero of heroes, but they'll never accept you. You'll always be a meme." With a twisted grin, the clown says he's now a brilliant joke. Without any surprise, Kang puts on the mask, and the contract with the Monarch of Masks is completed. Suddenly, our boy wakes up to his phone ringing. Then there's knocking on the door, and someone says they know he's in there. Rubbing his face, Kang says he just had that awful dream again and wonders why this guy's here so early. All cheerful, Kang opens the door and says, "What's someone like you doing here?" The guy responds, "Is that how you're gonna treat me now? Just because you got a little famous?" This is Hazak Park, a rank 30 player contracted to the Assassin Monarch, better known as the Hitman. He's also a department chief at the National Intelligence Agency, which operates directly under the Blue House. Our boy asks if he's tired of doing the same old things in that game. Smiling, Park says he doesn't have time for that anymore. Shaking slightly, he explains that he's been busy dealing with those idiots who only know how to start wars, using players to play their little games of conquest. Kang thanks him for his service. Park then asks why he wasn't answering his phone. Kang says he was sleeping. Suddenly, Park trips over the mess in Kang's apartment and says, "This is how you live. Who would have guessed the Hero King lived like this?" With an annoyed look, Kang says he hates that title while picking trash off the floor. Park teases, saying his place looks like Shrek's swamp. He keeps lecturing him, saying that if he keeps eating all those canned foods, he's going to die. Annoyed, Kang asks what's wrong with his food, pointing out that he's got plenty left. Like a nagging father, Park sighs, lies down on the bed, and tells him to cook 2 of the big ones. Then we get a flashback of how our boy met Mr. Park. Kang's there, completely focused on an online game, looking exactly like me playing Fortnite back in 2019. He finishes the match, and the guy behind him is in shock, already grabbing his phone to tell someone he just beat the game. Everyone around is wide-eyed and sweating, wondering if he really just cleared it. Then Mr. Park appears, asking if there's any game Kang isn't good at, thinking he's some kind of prodigy. Like a proper esports manager, he immediately approaches Kang, asking if he wants to go pro. Confused, Kang says gaming's just a hobby for him. Next scene, we see Mr. Park convincing Kang's parents to let him drop out of school and make a living through games, just like me in 2019 with Fortnite. Sad times. But Mr. Park's not just some noob. He's there late at night helping Kang refine his skills. However, on the very day Kang was supposed to go pro, the first season began, and that's when the tower breaks appeared. That's how it all started. We see our boy collapsing to the ground as something massive rushes toward him. A huge monster appears, ready to devour him, but guess who shows up just in time? Mr. Park, stabbing his dagger right into the head of that Walmart lizard. Mr. Park asks if he's okay, but our boy's already screaming for his mom. Kang is on his knees crying for his parents. But that day, the same day he lost them, he met his hero. Back to the present, Kang asks, "So, what brings you here?" Mr. Park replies, "I'm here on behalf of the association." Next chapter, 4:55 a.m. at the Player Graduation Academy. The students are training against a simulation. One of them notices the hero King watching and says he heard Kang's going to test them, hoping he won't have to beat him to graduate. Another student laughs and says that won't happen, claiming they're already guaranteed to graduate. He adds, "Who does Kang think he is, rescheduling the exam for 5 a.m.? He's a player just like the rest of us." Kang watches quietly from outside when one of the staff members approaches and says, "What do you think? We reorganize our training to make it more structured." Our protagonist asks if those kids have been getting boosts since day one, referring to an experienced players help rookies clear towers so they can collect all the rewards. The man smiles nervously and says, "It's an honor to have Mr. Kang evaluating our academy's finest members." Kang steps forward, already changing into his combat outfit and drawing his sword. He says, "My terms haven't changed. I'll be evaluating their real skills. Their graduation depends on me." The students freeze. The exam is starting. President Sunvo agrees, though he finds Kang unbearably arrogant. Still, he's confident the students are ready, especially at the start of the season. He even thinks they'll give the hero King a hard time. But when he actually sees the scene unfold, he's speechless. One by one, the students are being taken out without mercy. Kang effortlessly fails them all, saying, "You failed." Next, one girl collapses on the ground, crying, certain she's failed too, but Kang says, "You passed." Confused, she asks how that's possible. Kang replies that she got lucky. She managed to last longer than the other 12 players, and tells her never to forget that luck means everything to players. Then he announces, "That's it, folks. Turn off the cameras. Congratulations to the first graduate of the Player Academy." Still in shock, the girl stays on the ground, whispering, "Cameras? What cameras?" At that moment, the president and several organizers burst through the door, furious. "We asked you to evaluate the students, not..." Kang cuts him off. "Do I look stupid to you?" He continues, "These kids are all the children of your executives. You used me to test them and gather data, and you hired a bunch of brainless ranked players to boost them, so they could later become your association's little lapdogs." Kang smirks and says he doesn't have much hope for the association if these are their students. Furious, the president is about to curse at him. "You don't know a damn thing about how the real world works. Stay in your place. You think you're a hero just because people call you that." He keeps going, saying that players are nothing more than weapons used by the government, not just in Korea, but all over the world, to keep their nations safe. With a crazed look, the president insists that what the world needs now are war heroes. He says Kang must cooperate with them for the sake of the country, practically begging him. Kang knows they just want to use players as tools for war, and since they call him arrogant, he decides it's time to teach them a lesson. The president tries to keep persuading him, but suddenly a staff member rushes in, saying there's a problem. The president looks at the tablet, his face going pale. Kang, smiling, says it looks like the academy is going to have to shut down. The president demands to know how that video of the students got leaked. Our protagonist replies, "Did you forget I've got the intelligence department on my side?" The comments under the leaked video are all negative. No one with a brain would ever enroll in that place again. The president is trembling like a chihuahua, completely shocked. Kang just says he only did what was necessary. The system sends a notification saying his provocation level has increased and that the monarch of masks is impressed. Kang receives a gift box as a reward. Immediately, he leaves the building and runs into Mr. Park, who thanks him but asks, "Are you sure it's safe for the intelligence agency to take that kind of risk? Won't they punish you for leaking the video?" Mr. Park replies that the government was already unhappy with the association. This isn't the first time they've clashed. Kang says, "That's a relief. Since you're here, how about giving me a ride to the tower?" Mr. Park asks which one, and Kang answers, "The level 5 tower." When they arrive, the system instantly displays the mission coordinates. The goal is to escort a caravan and ensure the cargo reaches its destination safely. Kang waves goodbye to Mr. Park. Now in the Oasis Desert, a group of warriors is struggling against vicious creatures and on the verge of defeat when Kang appears, saving them. In the realm of towers, players always arrive at critical moments, right when they're needed most. That's why they're seen as saviors and how they earn their mythos. At that very moment, Kang unleashes a barrage of blades that strike down the creatures, wiping them all out. Then, in an attempt to make a cool impression, he walks toward the warriors and says, "Guess who's here?" But they just stare at him in confusion, so he adds, "A visiting player. Apostle, call me whenever you want." The warriors cheer with joy, shouting, "The God of Light must be watching over us. He's protecting us." Kang thinks to himself, "God of Light, I've got a bad feeling about this," and asks, "Is there another threat in this desert besides these monsters?" One of the warriors answers, "We're in the territory of the divine kingdom. The presence of heretics here isn't a problem. We're also not far from our destination, just a 3-day journey." Frustrated, Kang mutters, "3 days? I should have taken that break." A warrior asks if something's wrong, but noticing more monsters approaching, Kang replies, "Don't worry, go get some rest. As long as I'm here, you're safe." He adds that he'll take the night watch. The warriors thank him, calling him Apostle of Light. Kang equips the Vitality Necklace, which significantly boosts his regeneration rate while worn. The system reminds him that the gift box still hasn't been opened. Remembering it, he opens it manually and receives an advanced growth stone. Our protagonist smiles and says, "Finally, something useful." He turns around and notices more monsters coming his way, but puts the stone away knowing he won't need it for this fight. In the next chapter, he summons his little cat, Nor, saying, "Time to eat," but quickly realizes he can't leave everything to him. Drawing all his blades, he unleashes them at once, cutting through waves of scorpion-like monsters. Kang says, "These blades move according to my will. This is an incredible skill." His sword telekinesis ability levels up. He thinks the fight's over until the ground shakes. A massive sand devourer emerges from beneath the desert. Smirking, Kang says, "I had a feeling this was coming. Guess I'm not sleeping tonight." Before he can react, Nor shows up with a crazed look, slamming the creature down using telekinesis. Kang finishes it off in a split second. His skills level up again. Telekinesis and ice blade materialization. They continue their journey through the desert. Kang turns to the warriors and asks if there are knights traveling with them. One of them answers yes, brave knights who also serve the god of light. Our protagonist asks, "And where exactly were these knights last night?" The warrior explains that their top priority is protecting the cargo. Curious, Kang thinks even in this chaos, their main concern is the cargo. He asks, which order do they belong to? The soldier replies, the Crimson Cross Knights. Kang smiles and says, then whatever's inside that carriage must be pretty valuable. The soldier's expression hardens. That's none of your concern. I suggest you focus on your divine purpose instead. Our boy realizes that not only did they hire knights capable of using aura hearts, but they also summoned him the so-called Apostle of Light. This whole thing is way more complicated than he expected. He tells the soldier that now he's even more curious. One of the warriors, clearly scared by the tense situation, says there's no need for this. And suddenly, Kang pulls him close, protecting him with an ice shield while shouting, "We're under attack. Get down." It's the heretics on horseback, firing arrows. How did they even manage to get into sacred territory? They're using hit-and-run tactics. Let's see how the knights handle this, Kang mutters. The knights yell, "Protect the carriage at all costs. Maintain formation and activate the aura shield." A merchant gets struck by an arrow, and Kang notices the knights couldn't care less about what happens to anyone else. The system reminds him of his mission objective, ensure the caravan reaches its destination safely. After a moment of hesitation, Kang steps forward, drives his sword into the ground, and summons the power of shadows. With one leap, he's about to finish off a heretic, until he realizes they're actually desert elves. Next chapter. Kang senses an incoming attack and raises his shield, but the arrow pierces through it. He quickly realizes these enemies can use aura too. An elf charges at him, shouting, "Die, heretic." Kang blocks and remembers that these people serve a specific monarch. Holding his sword to the elf's neck, he demands, "What's inside that carriage?" Grinding his teeth, the elf calls him a bastard and says he won't say a word. Then he screams to his allies to fire at the protagonist, telling them not to worry about what happens to him. Without hesitation, the extras unleash a rain of arrows, but our boy is unstoppable. He activates his shield and blocks every single one. The elf is drenched in sweat, still refusing to talk. Kang insists, saying he just wants to know what's in the carriage, that's all. Then he adds coldly, "If you're going to make things harder for me, I'll have to deal with your little friends." The elf freezes in shock as one of his comrades gets hit with a shard of ice straight through the eye. And not just him. All of them are subdued under Kang's overwhelming power. Feeling like the ultimate Chad, he says, "I'll ask one more time. What are you transporting in that carriage?" In a rather awkward position, the elf blurts out, "How dare you? That's Princess Syria." Smiling, Kang says, "So the heretics kidnapped their own princess, huh? I'll spare you extras this time." The elf, still stunned, tries to say something, but Kang cuts him off. "Don't you think it'd be wiser to retreat while your heads are still attached, so you can come try to kill me again later?" The elf stands silently, then runs off with his fellow extras. Moments later, a soldier runs up to Kang, calling for him and asking, "Why did you let those elves escape?" Spreading his arms, Kang says, "I just want to check something." The soldier chases after him, shouting for him to wait. In the next scene, Kang approaches a guard standing at a door and tells him to move aside. The trembling guard says he has no orders to let him pass. In full Sung Jinwoo fashion, Kang summons his demonic cat and says, "You better move while I'm still being nice." He places his hands on the door, opens it, and asks, "Do you want me to save you?" And here we go again. Another scene that might get the channel demonetized. This is Princess Syria of the Kingdom of Ayub. She's furious, shouting that she won't be rescued by a heretic like him. The little system chimes in, "Don't lose sight of your mission." The Monarch of Light warns the player about his actions. Kang, who couldn't care less about anything, immediately pulls out his knife, spins it in his hand, and slashes through everything, cutting the princess to chains. The system warns him, "You've unlocked a secret mission. Save the princess and earn 300,000 achievement points." Then more and more system windows pop up in front of our boy, announcing that the tower has received an update. It's no longer level 5, it's now level 5 ultra hard. Smirking, he says this game is garbage, but he has to admit, it's a creative one. Suddenly, angels start descending from the sky, and the Monarch of Light declares that Kang will pay the price for defying the light. These angels are the Light Watchers, servants of the Monarch of Light. The system explains that their vision extends wherever light reaches and they do not tolerate darkness. The soldiers start cheering, shouting that the emissaries of light have arrived and command them to eliminate everyone who opposes the light, including Kang. Our boy's jaw practically hits the floor. They're acting all high and mighty just because reinforcements showed up, he mutters. The princess, sweating nervously, asks what he's going to do. With a confident smile, he tells her not to worry. He's called in reinforcements too. The protagonist begins casting a dark spell, and the system notifies him that the Monarch of Shadows has approved his decision. With that, he gains the Shadow Mantle buff. The soldiers panic, saying they can't see anything. Then a sinister voice echoes, "Envelop the world in our cloak." Grinning ear to ear, Kang says, "I knew it. The rewards are way better in this mode." And thus begins the free stabbing session. Soldiers are being shredded to pieces, blood splattering everywhere, while the angels stand frozen, completely unable to comprehend what's happening. One of them screams, "Li ti there be lai," releasing a blinding attack. The others follow, attempting the same, but nothing happens. A whirlwind of darkness engulfs the angels, disorienting them. Then slash, one of them takes a vertical cut right through the body. The rest of the angels are in disbelief, asking how this is even possible. Our boy's there, slicing through them all, spinning and flipping like a gymnast gone rogue. When he lands, the system notifies him. The Light Watchers have entered permanent hostile mode. But because of his shadows, Kang gains more points and his darkness power increases. Smiling proudly, he says, "That's one less." Stepping on a fallen angel, he mutters, "Now I can finally see clearly." Suddenly, he hears a sound. The system announces that multiple factions have started observing him. The next chapter opens by explaining how the realm of towers and the worlds within the towers are different. For instance, the knights or the desert elves encountered inside are inhabitants of a world within a tower. However, the monarchs and their factions belong to the upper layer, the realm of towers itself. Players act as intermediaries, bridging the two dimensions. And when a faction appears within a tower's world, it's essentially a reflection of that same concept. But players aren't puppets who blindly obey a monarch's will. We've seen examples, the pawns who follow the Monarch of Light without question, or that elf whose mission was to escort the princess. If players can look beyond what the game tells them, they can make countless different choices. For example, since Kang is aligned with the shadows by betraying the light, the shadows now reward him with even greater power. After all, not even the monarchs themselves can break the rules that bind them. Back to the fight. Our boy looks up at the sky, thinking, 5 left. Then one angel appears, wielding 2 gigantic glowing orbs, and yeah, I don't know how I only noticed that now, sorry folks. The angel begins charging a massive spell, shouting, "Insolent fool." He releases his attack, trying to save the soldiers trapped in the darkness. More beams of light rain down, but Kang doesn't even flinch. He says, "No matter how badly the Light Watchers want me dead, this is a level 5 tower. The strongest angel they can summon here is rank 9. That's the tower's rule." The angels, drawn better than most of the women in this manhwa, are shouting in fury, "Let the light destroy the darkness." All of them, or maybe both, since who even knows if angels are male or female, unleash their beams of light upon the soldiers. One poor soldier just stands there, completely lost. They were already attacked by the shadows, and now they're being electrocuted for free. Poor guy. Laughing, our boy says it seems they don't care what happens to their devotees. Remembering the last battle, he adds that karma sure came fast. The protagonist thinks that even for just a moment, they might be able to bring light into the darkness. At that moment, he activates the Shadow Mantle and charges straight toward the angels, saying, "You better not underestimate me." He runs right through the beams of light, and in the middle of all that chaos, the princess is standing there terrified. Suddenly, she gasps as Kang rushes in, scooping her up in his arms. He sets her down on the ground, calling for his shadow cat. Kang takes out a pink crystal, saying this will help protect the princess in his place. It's the growth stone. He crushes the crystal and hands the power over to the shadow cat. The princess is frozen in shock, screaming as beams of light rain down on them. But then the cat grows enormous, taller than a building. The princess braces herself for the blast, but our favorite kitty blocks the angel's attack. They exchange attacks for a while, darkness clashing against holy light, until Kang thanks his pet for holding the line. One of the angels scoffs, calling him a weak mortal who can't win. Meanwhile, Kang charges forward toward the angels. One of them draws a sword and blocks his strike, and a wild sword fight begins, blades clashing from every direction. As they trade blows, Kang mutters that the thorns won't hold much longer and he needs to keep moving. Something catches his attention. At the last second, he raises his sword to block an incoming strike. He dodges again, wondering how they're moving so fast even with all the debuffs. He decides to retreat, descending and parrying their attacks, but blood splatters as one angel manages to wound him. Sliding back, he curses under his breath, saying those wings are a problem and he'll have to bring them down with one decisive hit. He prepares to unleash a powerful spell, but the angels are quick. A beam of light strikes right at the center of his summoning circle. Kang's sweating and suddenly a bolt hits him square in the chest. He grits his teeth in pain, but it's not lightning. It's an angel with a spear. His swords drop to the ground and one of the angels yells, "This is our moment." Cut him in half. But Kang smiles and suddenly dozens of system notifications flood the air, waves of buffs. The spear in his chest begins to dissolve. The angels halt their attack. One of them says something's wrong. And that's when it happens. Farewell, angels. A storm of swords tears through the sky, raining down on them as the massacre begins. He activates a buff that increases his fatal damage chance by 50%. Grinning, he says, "Time to end this." The next chapter opens with angels getting shredded from every direction. The last one tries to escape, but our boy conjures an enormous greatsword and hurls it, impaling the angel straight into the ground. With that, the battle ends. He gains 3 levels. Walking through the battlefield, he suddenly stops, remembering something. Looking to the side, he sees fallen soldiers and then something touches his foot. It's his beloved shadow cat, stretching lazily. If you're Team Cat, leave a like on the video so I know. Then the princess approaches, calling out to Kang. She asks, "Why did you go so far and help me? You even betrayed." Like the good capitalist he is, he answers, "Because of the rewards." But she keeps going, saying, "They were humans, just like you. Are you planning to keep me captive for ransom?" The protagonist pets his cat and says, "Honestly, I can't stand my own kind." Then he apologizes and adds that she's asking weird questions. She just sits there with that lost puppy face while he keeps calmly stroking his cat. A few days later, they reach the border of the AU kingdom. Now the princess is all smiles, thanking him with genuine joy. But all he cares about is whether he'll get his rewards. She confirms that he will. At that moment, she extends her hand and says she has a gift for him. He accepts it, and the system immediately announces that he's conquered the Tower of the Deserted Wasteland and received an accessory with no description. Just 3 question marks. Surprised, he asks, "What is this?" Suddenly, he's teleported into a void. The system explains, an emblem of trust given by Princess Syria. His purpose is currently unknown, but it may prove useful in the future. The scene shifts to what seems to be our boy on a train heading somewhere. 4 hours earlier, Mr. Park had asked him to go to Busan. Kang questioned whether something was already happening there, but Mr. Park replied that not yet, though something soon would. Then we get a rundown about a player named Natasha Ivanova, a notorious international criminal. She falls under the classification of a black hat player. To escape Russian authorities, Ivanova infiltrated Korea through the ports of Busan and began clearing towers in the city with the help of her 4 subordinates. Reports suggest she possesses the legendary skill card, Shadow Mantle. When Kang steps off the train, his phone rings. It's Mr. Park. He asks how the trip to Busan went and jokes, "Did you run into any zombies on the way?" Disgusted, Kang replies, "I know you're watching me. Just give me a ride already." Mr. Park then tells him they've received intel about the tower Ivanova and her team are inside. Kang asks, "What's the level?" Mr. Park answers, "Level 5. The scene cuts to Kang arriving at the site and entering the tower. With a grimace, he says, "I knew the level 5 tower would be a crazy jungle, but the system warns him. Survive against the hungry infected." Then, out of nowhere, the ugliest zombie he's ever seen in a manhwa appears. Kang raises his sword and says, "Is that really a zombie?" But just before striking, he stops and asks why more showed up. Apparently, his cat's hungry. The sneaky furball is drooling while staring at the zombie. Poor zombie, it lunges toward the cat, but suddenly a giant shadow whale appears and obliterates it. Kang's face lights up with excitement. Wow, he got way stronger after absorbing the growth stone. But seriously, why a whale? And honestly, it's a stunning sight, glowing like Goku in Super Saiyan mode. Then someone starts clapping. A voice says, "I've been waiting for you." She continues, "I knew it. There's no way the hero king would let a villain like me roam free." This is the infamous Natasha Ivanova. They stare each other down for a moment before Kang says, "As a member of the Red Mafia, you became a wanted criminal in Russia. So you and your lackeys crossed into Korea through Busan." Covering her mouth with her hand, she asks if he's there to arrest her. Drawing his swords, Kang answers, "I don't know why people like you keep underestimating me. I guess Russian intelligence doesn't think very highly of me." Then he rushes forward, pointing his blade straight at Natasha and says, "Those subordinates of yours, they're Russian intelligence too, aren't they? You think you can capture me and toss me to the zombies?" She steps back, saying that even though he knows her true identity, he still had the nerve to enter this tower. Smirking, he replies, "You think I came here just to die?" He begins summoning his signature rain of swords, saying it's the only way to steal her legendary skill. But the redhead flits backward, dodging every strike and shouting that she already knew that. Then she screams, "Take him down." And our boy barely manages to dodge in time. Still, her little free fire soldiers keep shooting like maniacs. Kang is unstoppable, dodging everything in full Matrix style. He closes in on Natasha, ready to land that sharp, clean slash. Grinning, she turns, dodges, and gives him the finger, mocking him. He's stunned. His sword slams into the ground, and he can't figure out where she disappeared to. While blocking bullets, he studies the enemy's weapons, 3 assault rifles, 1 sniper. He leaps, twisting midair, dodging another volley, thinking the first shot might have been luck. But after blocking another, he realizes something's off. Because with the shadow mantle active, he's supposed to be invisible. Smiling through his confusion, he mutters, "Then how the hell are these bastards seeing me?" And that's when our favorite Noir makes his entrance. Kang glances at him and says he's going to need his help. The cat mews happily, ready for action. One of the gunmen shouts, "We can't pierce the ice shields. We need a new plan." But too late, Kang's already behind them. Blood splashes as the shadow thorns skewer everything in sight. Nora doesn't mess around, he nearly gets another one too. But that guy barely blocks with his rifle at the last second. A wounded blonde shouts for everyone to stay away from the cat's shadows. Arms crossed, Kang smirks. "So you can see Nora's shadow too?" That's a surprise. Just as he's about to say more, a blade presses against his throat. Natasha appears, warning him not to move. Maybe she'll spare his life if he listens. But Kang just grins. "You talk like you'd actually kill me." Brimming with confidence, she says, "Don't underestimate our intelligence. Those achievement points you earned in the level 5 tower were abnormally high. And since then, you've only been clearing lower level towers. You did the same thing last season, right after using your survival ability." She orders him to get rid of the cat. Meanwhile, Moore is happily tossing shadow spikes everywhere, the soldiers screaming in pain. Kang grips her dagger and says with a smirk, "How exactly are you going to kill me, if I'm not even the real one?" She freezes, totally confused, and before she can react, 3 swords are already at her neck. "Game over, lady," he says. "I knew from the start this wasn't really the shadow mantle. It was just bait to lure me in, wasn't it?" He adds, "But since my senses really were distorted, that can only mean one thing. The legendary illusion ability that manipulates a target's visual perception." Her sword falls to the ground and disintegrates, while Kang activates a gravitational skill. Natasha's body slams to the floor, and Kang stands over her, saying, "It's not that easy to fool people, you know. You'll have to do better than that." She shuts her eyes in defeat, and he mocks her, saying she's about to become zombie food. Brutal. Poor woman. The system announces that a player has been killed. But right then, Kang notices something. The sword stopped right before landing the final blow, and the system flashes an alert. Multiple survivors detected. A massive drone appears overhead, declaring that all survivors in Zone B16 must be eliminated. A bald soldier looks up and sees several robots descending, repeating in unison, "Eliminate, eliminate." He slings his weapon onto his back and starts running. Suddenly, a giant Megazord-looking machine shows up holding an enormous cannon and says, "Initiating confidentiality control protocol." Boom! An explosion goes off, and we see the player who had just been killed. Kang puts on a serious face, thinking, will my shields even hold up against that? But then a red beam cuts through everything, heading straight toward him and Natasha. He crosses his arms, trying to brace himself. Out of nowhere, a massive clock chimes and Natasha freezes in shock. A strange figure appears, saying, "What a waste. Looks like 2 people died without using their points." That greedy little shop elf from before points at someone and says, "This is all your fault, sir." The shameless guy just grins and apologizes half-heartedly. Honestly, if there's anyone who loves points more than that elf, I don't know who it is. True to his capitalist nature, he says, "Buy a card pack, and I'll forgive you." Kang just stands there laughing, clearly tempted to flip him off. Then the elf points toward Natasha, who's lying on the ground all depressed, and says, "Try selling to that beggar over there." He yells from across the room, "Hey, beggar, you've got the second highest amount of points here. Want to spend them before you die?" Poor Natasha, on the verge of death and now being humiliated by the ultimate capitalist. The elf keeps going, saying, "There's no chance you'll survive, but if you buy a pack and pull a mythical card, your odds might improve." She's just staring at him in disbelief, thinking, who would ever buy from someone this arrogant? Then he turns to Kang, asking him to buy one too. Kang chuckles, saying, "You really are insane. That's all you ever think about." But then he freezes when Natasha suddenly screams that she's going to spend all 374,000 of her points on random card packs. The next chapter starts with Kang completely bored, watching her open the cards. She begins, and surprised to absolutely no one, it's just a stream of common cards. Natasha is clenching her teeth and sweating bullets while our tiny capitalist cheers her on, saying, "Don't give up. You'll pull a mythical card soon." Meanwhile, she's practically ripping her fingernails off from stress. Kang comments that pulling a mythical card is like finding a needle in a haystack. She's opened nearly 1,000 packs already and says this is her last one. "Honestly, I'd hire this elf as my personal coach." The shameless little guy is yelling, "Don't quit. You've got 7 cards left. You're going to make it." What an inspirational scammer. The redhead's practically praying now, "If I don't get a decent card, I'm dead. Please God, give me at least a legendary." But nothing happens. She collapses to her knees, cursing everything. Then, guess who shows up again? The elf offers her a potion, saying she still has 4,000 points left to spend. The capitalist menace never stops. Kang grins and asks if the 2 of them are finally done with their little drama. "I swear I take a marketing course from this scam artist." He even says, "You've burned through all your bad luck," then pulls out a chest full of golden cards and offers it to Kang, saying, "Buy just one. You'll hit the jackpot." Don't fall for it, protagonist. I've fallen for that scam way too many times. Run while you can. Kang, being smart, covers his mouth and says, "Wow, that's brutal, even for me." Meanwhile, the redhead is losing her mind, yelling at Kang, calling him a jerk, and demanding that he go to hell and at least buy one pack. He tells her she deserves everything that's happening, though to be fair, she's got a point, and decides to buy one pack. The first one, of course, it's a common card, but it's Ice Bolt again. The system asks if he wants to upgrade it to level 2. He thinks, well, at least that's better than pulling 10,000 useless commons in turns to call Natasha. But before he can say anything, she's already right in his face, hands on his neck, looking like a demon, yelling at him to shut up and not interrupt her. Completely confused, he asks the elf what she's saying, but our sly little capitalist just waves him off and says, "See you later, goodbye." Kang tries to tell him to wait, but the elf's already gone. The redhead starts cursing him out, calling him every name imaginable. But then, out of nowhere, an explosion erupts and someone else arrives. It's those giant Megazord-looking robots again, carrying bazookas and ready to wipe out our duo. Natasha's distracted, looking to the side, and Kang calls out to her. She turns, asking what he wants, and in that instant, a horizontal slash cuts through the air, sending a head flying. That was brutal. I did not see that coming. I actually thought they'd end up getting along, maybe even as a couple, but nope, that's the end of our redhead. Apparently, Kang has a thing for beheading people. He charges toward one of the robots. Slash. Another head gone. Two more leap at him, but he's already charging up his power. He swings his weapon, unleashing an explosion that wipes the robots out completely. Then he hears a noise. Two of the robots combine and fire a massive wave of flames at him. He dodges and says, "Damn, a pharmaceutical company owns all this? As soon as I get home, I'm investing in them." He starts charging up what looks like a Rasengan, throws it into the air and shouts, "Unlucky for you. Today, I'm deleting you from my shopping list." A freezing blast engulfs the robots, followed by a massive explosion that wipes out everything around. Kang walks out of the smoke with his cat beside him, as multiple reward windows pop up around him. As a prize for clearing the zombie tower, he's allowed to choose one of the players who died inside it. Smiling, he says he already knows exactly what he wants. The system congratulates him. He's obtained the skill OCULUS. It explains that when a player returns to the real world after clearing a tower, all players who failed are also revived, but only those killed by another player. Kang looks at them and thinks looks like two of them were killed by Nor. The pain from that must still be fresh, so there's no way they can escape. And there she is again, Natasha, back from the dead for the second time, on her hands and knees like a stray dog. Unbelievable. This is the second time I thought she was done for. That woman's stubborn. Kang waves at her casually while she crawls, asking why. Confident as ever, he glances back and says, "Why? You want to get arrested? Then dial 911 or surrender at the nearest police station. I don't care what you do." Brutal as always. She stares, confused, asking if he's really just going to let her go. He says yes, but she has to tell her friends how amazing he is. Completely breaking her spirit, Kang adds, "The dead don't talk, so I need you alive to spread my words." In the next chapter, someone on the phone asks him why he saved that woman. Mocking the poor redhead, he says he just returned the favor for the legendary card and the free card unboxing video. The guy on the phone yells, "You idiot. Why do you always try to save people who want you dead?" Kang replies that he's not a violent killer. He prefers to handle things peacefully. Grinding his teeth, Mr. Park shouts, "Very funny kid. What the hell do you think all those idiots are after? Obviously, they want to kill you, you fool." He keeps lecturing, saying, "Damn it, you're useless. Why did I raise you like my own son?" Kang calmly says that's not true. If it weren't for his skill, that internet cafe would gone bankrupt long ago. Sighing, Mr. Park says it doesn't matter anymore and tells him to just come back safely. Smiling, Kang replies, "All right, I'll be there soon, and thanks for worrying about me." And then the narration continues. There are many names for players within the towers: player, visitor, apostle, and just as many in the outside world. Weapons, units of military power, asymmetric biological assets, heroes. But in truth, players aren't heroes. They're war heroes. They're tools used to eliminate threats for their nations, just like Natasha Ivanova. So our boy starts wondering if that's really what they want from him, if there are no real heroes left in these modern days. Suddenly, some random guy nearby asks, "Wait, isn't that the Hero King?" Kang quickly pulls his hood up, realizing he forgot to cover his face. The guy leans over to his girlfriend and whispers, "Hey, maybe don't point at him if it's really him. He's got a nasty personality, you know." Like every loyal waifu, she defends him right away, saying she heard he's actually kind. He only acts that way in front of cameras because reporters are annoying. As they walk off, she says, "He's still the #1 hero. We're alive today because of him. If it weren't for him, the world would have ended back in season 2. And I also heard he secretly donates all the profits from his merch and toys to charity." The guy shrugs. "Okay, that part I didn't know, but I heard they're releasing mythical tier versions of his shirts soon. I'm pretty sure he's just greedy for money." Kang gives a faint smile and lets out a relieved sigh. Time passes, and then a reporter starts shouting, trying to get a word with him. Kang complains that he can't even walk in peace anymore, then leaps away to escape. Next thing we know, he's already inside a level 5 tower called the Tower of Sword and Sorcery. He mutters that he'd rather rest inside a tower than deal with reporters. A bunch of soldiers nearby are praising a saint for summoning a hero. He tilts his head, thinking saint. What are they talking about? Then a blue-haired woman steps forward smiling warmly and says it's an honor to meet him, thanking him for answering the call. This is Saint Elysia Celestina, the 37th saint of the holy state of Celestina. Damn it, I thought we were finally getting a proper waifu in this story, but since she's a saint, of course we can't expect much fan service. Kang, being the shameless guy he is, flashes a smile, probably already thinking she's going to hand out some good rewards. He shakes her hand and says, "It's a pleasure. I'll lend you my sword and my service as a hero." All cheerful. Kang then asks what she wants him to do. Elysia begins explaining the history of the continent of Philia. He immediately cuts her off, saying, "Let me guess, it's something about angels and demons fighting, right?" Her eyes light up. Indeed, that's exactly right. She continues with full enthusiasm. In the beginning, there were the Celestials and the demons, and a war between light and darkness began. The demons, who were meant to remain trapped in the abyss, invaded the world of light, and to stop them, the Celestials created the weapon known as the Ark. However, the demons were relentless. Over time, the seal began to weaken, and thus the Ark had to be reactivated. Honestly, I was ready to skip this whole speech. Couldn't take another second of lore dump. Thankfully, our boy stepped in before it dragged on. 1 point to the protagonist. He cuts her off and says, "All right, let's go kill the demons and save the world." She looks flustered and says the story is only just beginning. Try and keep talking. Kang folds his arms, turns around, and starts walking away. She panics, asking what he's doing. He grabs her arm and says, "Let's just get this over with already." Desperate, the saint stammers that he doesn't even know where the Ark is. He raises a brow. "And do you?" Awkwardly, she admits she doesn't. She's about to say something else when suddenly a red portal opens and a demonic hand emerges. The saint stands there frozen like a fool and then outsteps what looks like the Skull King from Yu-Gi-Oh. The background soldiers immediately rush forward, yelling that he's trash, a filthy demon, unworthy of standing there. Man, I really thought they were all gonna get wiped out in one hit, but surprisingly they're actually managing to hold their ground against the demon, swinging blades and firing beams of light. The demon growls, "Impossible," and sticks out his tongue and mocks everyone, saying, "That divine power doesn't work on me." He starts charging up some kind of power, and someone shouts for everyone to fall back. But the saint steps forward, insisting that she wants to help our boy. Kang raises his hand and says, "I'm fine. Just stay safe." The Skull King goes for a strike aimed at the saint, but Kang blocks it in time and asks if she's alright. She nods, already falling head over heels for him. Oh my god, he risked his life to protect us. Then she clasps her hands together, praying to her goddess for mercy upon their souls. And boom! The ice surrounding the demon bursts apart. She cries out for the hero, asking if he's hurt, while Kang just covers his face and says the demon left a message before he vanished. He said the demons will reclaim the Ark, and that this world of light will soon be swallowed by their darkness. He warned you to stay away from their objective. The saint's sweating bullets, muttering that this is bad. Kang says there's no time to waste and asks if she has any idea where the Ark is. Elysia is stunned, saying she had no clue the Armageddon was this close, but she mentions there's a place they can go. Next thing we see, they're already riding horses at full speed. While galloping, Kang glances over and says, "You were getting bored too, huh? Nice acting back there." And then Nora appears beside him, mewing with a smug grin. Turns out the whole thing was just a setup, Kang's plan to scare the locals. He tells Nora to hold back on using flashy powers so no one gets suspicious. The saint asks if he wants her to slow down, but Kang says no, that everything's fine. He grins and adds, "I've got to do things my own way if I want to be efficient. That's how you use a legendary skill." In the next chapter, they arrive at the Adventurers Guild. Kang says he heard they'd need some kind of item to enter the labyrinth. The blonde receptionist confirms, saying they'll need an adventurer's license and asks them to wait for their number to be called. While waiting, the saint starts explaining that they're in the labyrinth city of Garcia, a neutral zone between the holy state of Celestina and the Drager Empire. As the name suggests, she continues, it's a city built around an ancient underground labyrinth, full of opportunities. Kang chuckles, saying that can't be a good sign. If they hid the Ark here, something's definitely off. Their number gets called, and the receptionist asks them to sign a document. The clueless saint starts signing without even reading it, but thankfully, Kang stops her and tells her to hold on. Pointing at the paper, he says, the guild waives all responsibility for any deaths that occur inside the labyrinth. All recovered bodies and belongings are considered property of the city. I have to agree to this just to get a license. The receptionist gives a nervous smile and says, the guild offers everyone an equal chance to gather immense riches from the labyrinth. However, the life of an adventurer comes with risks only those who accept them can face. The saint agrees, and Kang mutters that those contract clauses really make you appreciate how valuable life is. The receptionist wishes them good luck on their journey. Next scene, they're already descending into the ancient labyrinth. They reach the first floor, and Kang immediately draws his sword, asking if the saint's ready. She nods. A swarm of giant rats, like Twitch from League of Legends, rushes at him. He blocks one and shouts for the saint to attack. She fires a beam of light and decapitates a rat. One down. Actually, make that all of them down, because in the very next scene, they're already on floor 5. Apparently, they got there faster than expected. Honestly, same here. They killed one rat and somehow skipped 4 floors. Bravo, author. Kang moves ahead confidently, saying they made it so quickly thanks to her amazing abilities. Alicia blushes and thanks him shyly. Then she adds, although some adventurers did help us by defeating the monsters along the way, I was really grateful since we were in such a hurry. Our protagonist gives a slight grin and thinks I'm pretty sure they only got mad because that was their hunting zone. All bright and naive, the saint says that as long as people support each other the way adventurers do, they'll have nothing to fear from the demons. Acting all confident, he tells her not to worry about that. He's going to get that ancient weapon from her. Suddenly, a bald, muscular guy appears, greeting them with a smug tone and saying, "We heard you entered the labyrinth without paying the tolls. This is the bandits' labyrinth." The saint looks completely lost. Kang says, "I don't know exactly what they're called in this world, but you can always find their type in any large labyrinth. Usually they're called labyrinth bandits or adventurer hunters." The bald guy raises his hand and says, "Exactly right," then gets straight to the point. "Hand over everything you've got." The saint, being the ultimate pacifist, pleads, "Please wait. We can resolve this peacefully through dialogue." With his usual sarcasm, Kang says, "Ah, yes. Of course we can. Why don't you hear us out for a moment?" Then he starts retelling that same story the saint tried to tell him earlier. In the beginning, there were angels and demons, and now this world stands on the brink of annihilation because of the demons' invasion. I'm a hero summoned from another dimension to save this world, and to do that, I must find the angel's ancient weapon, the Ark. The bandits just stand there blank-faced, having no clue what he's talking about. He keeps going, saying, "And she is the 37th saint of the holy state of Celestina. We're searching for the Ark together. So could you please let us continue our journey?" All cheerful, the saint nods and says, "That's right. We're trying to save the world." The bald guy bursts out laughing and asks his men if any of them have a clue what these two lunatics are talking about. One of the lackeys, barely holding back laughter, says they must be spouting nonsense because they're scared. Alicia looks stunned, while Kang just says he expected as much. The bald man shrugs, saying he doesn't care, and that's when the cutting session begins. Kang flashes through the air, slashing down his enemies. One of the bandits already lost his arms and is screaming in pain. The bald guy tries to swing, but his hand's gone too. Someone throws an axe, but Kang blocks it with ease. Then a female voice snaps, "Who dares lay hands on my men? Looks like you're stronger than you seem." Wait, am I going crazy, or is that the receptionist from the Adventurers Guild? It really is her. The saint recognizes her instantly. Alicia stands there in disbelief, and Kang calmly explains that the guild and the bandits are working together. They ambush rookie adventurers and demand payment for their lives. Even if they can't pay, their bodies still fetch a good price. The saint is horrified, unable to believe what they're doing. The blonde smirks and says, "Ha, she's way too naive to be adventuring here. You almost fooled me pretending to be a saint, but no real saint would ever come to a place like this. That's just how things work in the Labyrinth City." She leaps forward, swinging her axe at them, shouting that's too late for mercy. But Kang blocks her attack, grins, and says, "Watch your step, sweetheart." Her face freezes in pure fear as she turns around, and there's Nor, our favorite shadow kitty, shredding everyone in sight. All we hear is a loud crunch, and Nor is standing there looking pleased after his little afternoon snack. Kang says the path is clear now. The saint, still in shock, stays silent for a few seconds, then quietly follows him. They walk for a while until they reach what looks like a coliseum. Kang steps down and says that for tonight, they'll rest there and start again in the morning. Apparently, the saint still hasn't recovered from what happened in that last fight. Kang looks at her and says, "You've had that serious look ever since we ran into those bandits. The world isn't anything like you imagined, is it?" Looking down, she answers, "The world's ending and people are still fighting over money. You're used to this kind of thing, aren't you, hero?" It seems our boy remembers that crazy guy saying what everyone really needs in this new world is a war between heroes. He replies, "It's more or less the same in every world," and she nods, understanding. Alicia asks, "What does your world look like?" Kang says, "My world's been on the brink of collapse more times than I can count. We didn't have someone like you to warn us about what was coming, so things got really dangerous." She apologizes, saying if it's a sensitive subject, he doesn't have to talk about it. He chuckles. It's fine, and explains that everything was going well until the third time. Then at some point, people started putting their own interests first. The saint asks, "And you? Did you get corrupted too?" Smirking, the protagonist tells her to guess. They fall silent for a bit. She thinks for a while and says something, though we have no idea what since the speech bubble's empty. Damn you, author. Whatever it was, it surprises Kang. He laughs and says that doesn't make any sense. Time passes, and he starts to feel that things are too quiet until something catches his eye. A golden glow. And look who it is, our supreme capitalist, showing up again with his shiny pack of cards. Kang grins. "Perfect. That's exactly what I was waiting for since I leveled up twice." He tells the capitalist supreme, "Show me your best stuff." The next chapter jumps ahead a few days. They're already on the 100th floor, fighting a massive winged serpent, shouting, "The Ark will be ours. Die, hero," as it summons two gigantic snakes toward him. Our saint is in the back, giving buffs to our hero while a field of purple spikes bursts from the ground. Kang leaps forward and strikes down, delivering a clean vertical slash that cuts straight through the giant snake and the boss of this floor. As it's dying, the snake whispers, "My lord, forgive me for failing to protect the Ark." The protagonist just waves it off. Yeah. Have a nice trip back. He sighs, saying he's exhausted. But then the system rewards him with 10,000 points and a random special ability. Turning to the saint, he says, these demons really have perfect timing. How'd they show up right after we finished the test? Alicia nods, telling him he did well. Then something catches both their attention. A green light shines ahead and she gasps, it's the Ark. Kang picks it up, saying, for such an ancient relic, it looks pretty simple. The system flashes, new mission, Ark fragment. They look up, and the saint notices the entire labyrinth starting to collapse. A blue portal appears. They assume it's the exit. She tells him to hurry, but a voice echoes from the portal. It's over for you, Saint Alicia and Hero. A blonde soldier steps out, smirking. Your efforts were most helpful to the Empire's mission to locate the Ark. The Ark now belongs to the Empire. Actually, the Ark will be mine. Hand it over. Smiling, Kang tilts his head and says, this guy definitely doesn't look like he's on your side. The saint says that's Miliath Dragar, the first prince of the Empire. Grinning like a lunatic, the prince says he'll spare their lives if they cooperate. Alicia shakes her head, saying they can't do that. The Ark can only be used to protect the world from demons. Pulling out a crystal, the deranged prince says, do not fear. Once the Ark is in my hands, even the demons will kneel before the Empire. Our boy draws his sword, slashing forward. How convenient, he says. The quest item delivered itself to us. Furious, the prince growls. So you've chosen not to cooperate? Fine. Advance, brave warriors of the Empire. Prove your loyalty. And like all the disposable soldiers about to get demolished, they pull out their swords and shout, long live the prince and the Empire. The system flashes a warning. He's entered the final stage of the story. The prince and his black guards are advancing to seize the Ark. Our lovely saint starts casting her buffs, and Kang has already summoned his 1,000 swords for battle. So many skills and buffs are flying around that describing them all would take an hour. In short, he unleashes his full attack power on the soldiers, and the piercing session begins. Slash after slash, and the prince is already sweating bullets, watching his men drop one by one. Grinding his teeth, he yells that it's not over yet. He shatters the Ark fragment, releasing its power. A system window pops up in front of our boy, warning him that the prince has activated the Ark's power. Kang looks over his shoulder with that smug grin and says, Saint, looks like the Ark's power just got released. Alicia nearly faints right there, frozen in shock. A purple explosion erupts, and Kang braces himself. Then, boom, a massive dark creature emerges like a demonic Hulk. The soldiers stare in disbelief. Your Majesty, is that you? Blood sprays everywhere as with a single swing, he wipes out 10 of his own men. Out of my way, you useless worms. Kang says, well, looks like he turned into a monster. Mind buffing me again, Saint? She nods nervously. Our hero equips his ice armor and downs both the earthquake and flame potions, looking more like a proper hero than ever. The ground shakes as the monster charges, and Kang deflects, countering with multiple slashes around the Hulkwane, who roars in pain. Enraged, the beast growls, you think trash like you can defeat me with those flames? Kang smiles, and the monster freezes, realizing too late what's coming. Kang leaps high, charging a vertical slash, mocking him. You seem to be having trouble seeing straight, must be blinded by all that power. He descends like a blade of judgment, carving a crater straight through the monster's chest. The Dark Hulk spits blood. He's done for. Our boy walks away like the total Sung Jin-woo successor he is. Then the system flashes, quest complete. Second Ark fragment obtained. A bright green light shines in the sky, and Kang mutters that it feels like the cutscene of some cheap mobile game. A glowing green crystal descends from above. The saint stares in awe, whispering, it's the Ark. Kang grabs the crystal, saying it really did arrive right on time. The system congratulates him. He's leveled up to 50, and can now enter the Tower of the Awakened. Smiling, he hands the crystal to the saint. She hesitates, saying she's not sure she deserves such power. Our number 10 shakes his head. I don't know anyone who deserves it more. She insists she isn't worthy. Seriously, woman, just take the crystal already. Stop acting all shy. Out of patience, he sighs. Fine, maybe we should just hand it over to the Dragar Empire instead, but honestly, it's better off in your hands. Then he places the crystal firmly in her palm and says, from what I've seen, the ones who aren't qualified always end up using power for the wrong reasons. They turn out that way because of their obsession with duty. But you will fight alongside everyone else, right? The Ark's just a means to an end. She looks down at the crystal, eyes glimmering, and thanks him softly for saying those words. Kang says it was a pleasure to help her. The system announces that he has cleared the Tower of Sword and Sorcery. With the weapon in her hands, Saint Alicia was able to defend the kingdom and drive away the demons protecting the world. Saint Alicia now deeply trusts you. As a special reward, he receives the blessing of the Saint buff. Time passes, and we see our boy lying down, watching the news about the tower he just cleared. He's thinking that maybe it took him too long to finish it, or maybe not, since it's still only mid-January. Turning in bed, he mutters, besides, I got something more important to deal with right now. A few days later, Kang is walking down the street when he hears a noise. He looks back and sees 10 reporters sprinting toward him. As usual, they want an interview for their magazine. Without hesitation, he asks to enter a tower. The reporters stop, dumbfounded. Damn it, he went inside a tower. What kind of tower is it this time? They freeze when they realize it's the Tower of Awakening. Inside, Kang hears a voice echoing, I've been waiting for you, child of 1,000 faces and 1,000 talents. He opens his eyes annoyed and says, cut the nonsense. Let's get this over with. He looks around. He's surrounded by mirrors reflecting countless images of himself, all laughing. The voice says he's too impatient. One reflection twists, showing glowing red eyes. Don't worry, it says, we'll begin right now. All the mirrors shatter and a foot steps forward. It looks exactly like his. Then we see it. Kang, dressed as a clown, or maybe the clown dressed like Kang. Hard to tell. The protagonist draws his swords, and so does the clown copy. Their blades collide, and Kang charges in. The fight begins, fast and fierce. But everything Kang does, the clone mirrors perfectly, and he notices it. Charging his shadow power, Kang mutters, I fought him in every season and it still gives me chills. He fires a volley of shadow spikes, but the clone blocks with his sword, smirking as their blades come inches from Kang's neck. At the last moment, Kang raises his shield and blocks. He counters with a slash, but again, the clone mirrors him. Kang shouts for Nor, his beloved cat, but nothing happens. He realizes he can't summon familiars here. Backing up, he sighs. Had to try. The key to ending this fight is simple. He steadies himself, lifts his sword, and rushes forward. Blood splatters, they strike each other at the same time. The clown laughs, tilting his head. Why so serious? Then he continues, we can become heroes or villains. We can be whatever we want on this stage, so there's no need to be so grim. The evil clown raises his hand. There's nothing in this world worth taking that seriously. Both with swords through their chests, they grab each other's heads as purple light explodes around them. Kang glares at him and says coldly, what did you think of that magic trick? Time to shut you up. Boom. The head bursts apart and Kang stands there, holding the mask in his hand. He slowly puts it on, looks up, and says, we're not done here yet, are we? The monarch of masks appears, smiling, congratulating him. Take your new face and your new talent. The scene shifts to a hospital. Mr. Park is sprinting down the hallway faster than Usain Bolt. He bursts into Kang's room, gasping for breath. Kang just lifts a hand, smirking, and says, yo, what's up, buddy? Relieved, Mr. Park says, wow, you actually came back empty-handed? Guess I was worried for nothing. Teasing him, Kang answers, this isn't the time to get sick. The Hero King still has to save the world. Kang looks offended. Seriously? I just got to the hospital to recover, and you already want to throw me back to work. Mocking him, Mr. Park says, you've got tons of potions and healing skills. Don't be so dramatic. But Kang frowns. These wounds are serious. Mr. Park's tone changes. You're right. Your monarch shouldn't be underestimated. I'm sure that opponent wasn't easy. Sighing, Kang admits, it wasn't that bad. Could have been worse. He explains that the awakening test at level 50 changes depending on the monarch. In his case, he had to defeat a clone, and in exchange, he was rewarded with his own talent. In other words, he got copies of every skill card and attribute he'd ever collected. Standing up, Kang says, well, I got what I needed, so I'm good. What's the job? Grinning like a schemer, Mr. Park replies, what do you think? We're hunting down criminals, and this time we've got a real villain. He pulls out his phone, showing footage of a city engulfed in flames, civilians running for their lives. On screen, a man who looks like a deranged conductor is shouting, these screams, what a beautiful harmony of despair. He points his baton and declares, behold my brilliance, peasants, allow your maestro to enlighten you fools with my art. Then he unleashes fire in every direction, explosions everywhere. The Monarch of Flames seems quite impressed with the player Dongsu Park and rewards him for it. The flame-crazed man throws his arms wide. Only you understand the beauty of my art, Monarch of Flames. But then he notices people closing in to capture him. A police officer yells, damn it, looks like the perp ran into a tower. Someone asks, which tower did that lunatic enter? Level 4, the officer answers. Another mutters, only 2 people max in that one. Meanwhile, Kang strolls past them with his hands in his pockets, staring at the burning city. He thinks, a player doesn't have to be a hero, but a player who sets the world on fire. This time he's angry, dead serious. That bastard's gonna get what's coming to him. Enter tower. The scene shifts to what looks like an arena, crowds roaring. The flame maniac spots him and laughs. So they sent another one? He pauses mid-sentence when he realizes who it is. Drawing his sword, Kang says calmly, yeah, they sent me, you bastard. The pyromaniac lights up with excitement. Hero King, of all people, you should appreciate my art. Join me and... Kang cuts him off coldly, a pretentious circus clown. It's a mystery how the world ended up full of people like you. The maestro glares down. You dare insult my art? Call it unoriginal? Witness my flames. Unique skill, infernal fire orchestra. Flames erupt, explosions bursting across the stage. Kang leaps through them with flawless reflexes as fireballs rain around him. Smirking, he says, typical of a failed artist, losing his temper over nothing. The hothead begins channeling power, forming a massive fiery prison around Kang. Thinking he's trapped him, the maniac laughs triumphantly until Kang shatters it and bursts out through the flames. Hovering midair, Kang taunts, you'll need more than that to hold me. He raises his sword to finish it, but suddenly he's caught in another blazing spell. The madman cackles, a masterpiece starring the Hero King himself. My finest work. Inside the inferno, Kang grins. A second later, he appears right behind the maestro, swinging his blade, but the pyromaniac narrowly dodges, leaving Kang genuinely surprised. With his hand on his neck, Dongsu asks, "How did you do that?" "The illusions can't talk." Smirking, Kang replies, "I don't need to explain anything to a failure like you." Then the system pops up, explaining that the Oculus ability can manipulate vision for 3 seconds. While the keyword is active, the altered visual information can physically manifest, basically turning illusions into reality. Creating multiple illusions, Kang mocks him, saying, "Don't worry, there will be an audience watching your last show." Completely serious, Kang adds, "After everything you've done, this will be your final performance." Trembling, the maniac begins to channel power, shouting, "My art is an explosion." Boom. And just like that, our Walmart Daedara blows himself up. Kang raises his arm to shield himself from the blast, but then a message appears congratulating him on the victory. He stands there, dumbfounded, not quite sure what just happened, and the system notifies him that he's cleared the tower and can now exit. He starts frantically spamming the leave command. He knows players can actually kill each other for real inside a tower. Next scene, the failed artist bursts out of the tower running for his life. Kang smirks. "Yeah, I knew it." He leaps after him, ready to finish what's left. A clean slash across the back. Slash. Several icy blades fly, cutting through the guy's arms and legs. Kang raises his sword for the final strike. Right as he swings, a glowing yellow shield appears. Surprised, he turns to see a group of people, and a stunning blonde steps forward, telling him to lower his weapon. Kang narrows his eyes. Those barriers are supposed to block attacks from the inside. The blonde explains she was trying to help him. The culprit has already been detained and will be handed over to the authorities. With a look of pure annoyance, Kang starts to walk away as if agreeing to let it go. But the moment her guard's down, he quietly gathers power in his hand and attacks anyway. The blonde throws up a barrier in a panic, but Kang doesn't stop. Nor lunges forward and devours the criminal, leaving everyone stunned. The system immediately warns that his provocation level has skyrocketed. Even the Monarch of Masks is impressed. Kang's player outfit dissolves, and now everyone around him has their weapons pointed straight at him. Kang stares them down and says, "Do you know how many people died because of that bastard? Including children. I've got no reason to let him live. Those Black Hat players will bring the end of this world, not the towers. If killing him makes me a monster too, fine by me." The blonde steps up, places her hand on his shoulder, and gently tells him, "You're not a monster." Meanwhile, far from the scene, Mr. Park calls, practically yelling into Kang's ear, "You idiot. You weren't supposed to handle it like that. A public execution wasn't what I had in mind. Now the French authorities want you gone. You've got a flight booked for tomorrow morning." Kang, still calm, says he's got something personal to take care of first. Mr. Park tries to ask what he's planning now, but Kang already hangs up. The blonde, who overheard everything, thanks Kang for staying. He says, "Yeah, I know I owe you one anyway. No reason not to help." Trying to get a little closer, he casually sits beside the gorgeous blonde on the bed, but she immediately stands up, dodging his moves, saying she'll see him tomorrow in Paris. With a blank stare, Kang asks if there's anything else she needs. She just shakes her head, says goodbye, and leaves. Across the room, with a worried look, the blonde wonders if she was right to ask for his help in the first place. The scene cuts to Paris, inside the Revolutionary War Tower, a level 6 dungeon. The mission objective: complete the story. Inside a speeding carriage, a frantic chase is underway. Kang shields the vehicle with a magical barrier, blocking a barrage of arrows. Inside, he shouts to the blonde, "There's a bridge up ahead. We'll stop them there." Their mission: protect the king and the nobles from the incoming rebels. With a powerful leap, Kang and the blonde jump out of the carriage, smashing the bridge behind them to keep it safe on the other side, now ready to face the incoming knights. But before they can attack, one of the knights orders a ceasefire. Recognizing Kang, he shouts, "You are on the rebels' side. We thought you came to save us. Why would you side with the corrupt kingdom? Come back to us. We don't want to fight you." Kang turns to the blonde and asks if that's why she asked for his help, realizing this isn't her first time in that world. The blonde explains that she discovered this place inside a level 5 tower. "I never once doubted our cause," she says. "We fight under the same banner as the French Revolution: liberty, equality, and solidarity." Kang then realizes that the people she thought were righteous had now become her enemies. He warns her, "If you're planning to switch sides, it's better to tell me now." But she insists that resources here are limited. It's best to fight and clear this place like any other level 6 tower. Kang agrees and says there's no turning back now. She smiles, saying she's glad to be in this tower with him. In the next chapter, the rebel captain still tries to get Kang to reconsider. But before he can finish, Kang pierces his stomach and says, "Do we still look like God's apostles to you? This is my final warning. The bridge is gone. Leave now before you shed blood for nothing." The captain refuses, saying they'll fight for their cause even if it means going against the visitors. Donning magical armor alongside his soldiers, he yells for freedom and equality as they charge in with their anti-visitor formation. Maria begins summoning a series of protective spells surrounding Kang with divine light. The blonde yells for him to stay behind her and keep his sword ready. But Kang takes control of the battlefield. He extinguishes every source of light, leaving the blonde completely disoriented since she can't fight in the dark. He's almost struck by an attack and realizes that level 6 enemies are no joke. They can track him even in complete darkness. Suddenly, Kang shouts for the blonde to raise her shield because she's about to be hit. Maria begs him to turn the lights back on so he can fight properly, but Kang refuses. He says he's enjoying the battle and that experience points are shared anyway. Besides, the fight's already over. The blonde looks disappointed she couldn't help, but Kang extends his hand and says we need to move. That fat king's next. You know it'll all be for nothing if they catch him first. She complains that he didn't have to go that far, but he smirks and says it's just easier that way. I'm here to help, remember? They head toward the burning city. The Iron Duke screams, kill the enemies of the revolution. Show no mercy, ordering his men to slaughter even the elderly and children. When Maria and Kang arrive, the city is in ruins. The blonde is frozen in shock, horrified that no innocent lives were spared. Kang looks around and says, this is what happens when an ideology grows too powerful. The same thing probably happened where you came from. The system then alerts them. Elite Ironblood troops are approaching, led by the Duke himself. Kang grins confidently, knowing that just means it'll be easier for him since they're not nobles. With a snap of his fingers, he shuts down the lights again. In an instant, it's over. Every enemy wiped out. The system announces that the tower has been cleared. The royalists have won. But in time, they fell to the Ironblood Duke, marking the rise of a brutal regime doomed to collapse. Kang receives his rewards, a random skill card pack, and a random artifact for clearing the tower. With the tower already cleared, a swarm of reporters surrounds Maria, asking what interest she and the Hero King had in working together. She replies that it was all for the good of their nations. But Kang jumps in, clearly enjoying the chaos, joking that they had a hot night together and the only reason they entered a tower as a duo was for a date. A blonde explodes, denying everything furiously, while Kang keeps adding fuel to the fire until she finally yells for him to shut up. The system chimes in, warning that his provocation level has reached a record high, and even the Monarch of Masks is dying of laughter. More notifications pop up. Monarchs of Shadows, Assassins, and Pioneers all send him skill packs as a reward for the show. When he sees the news headlines claiming that Kang and the blonde are in a secret romance, he laughs, saying it's a little late now to tell people they're just friends. The blonde actually seems to enjoy the gossip. Next chapter. Inside the Tower of the Deadly Glacier, an army approaches their position. Kang, slightly on edge, tells the blonde to strengthen her protection spell, but she's still mad about his earlier jokes and teases him, guess our hot night will be followed by a cold one. Over the course of a month, the Hero King and the Saint clear multiple towers across France, one after another. At the airport, as they prepare to part ways, Kang grins and says, isn't it tradition in some countries to say goodbye with a hug or maybe a kiss? Maria crosses her arms and says she envies his carefree attitude, calling him irresponsible, but admitting it was a relief having him around. Kang waves goodbye and she thanks him for protecting that world. On the plane, Kang stares out the window, thinking how amazing it would be if everyone worked together to protect the world instead of only caring about themselves. Maybe the next time I should invite the Saint to Korea, he mutters. Then Nora's voice suddenly speaks up, saying Kang's already caused her enough trouble. Startled, Kang turns and blurts out, wait, you can talk? Nora calmly explains that since his evolution, yes, he can. Kang, wide-eyed, asks why he never spoke before. Nora replies that he didn't want to interrupt while Kang was too busy trying to flirt with the blonde, and tells him to stop wasting time and check the new card packs. Kang opens them, praying for a legendary skill pack since he's only been using random cards until now. He reminds himself that cards depend on synergy to be effective, even though he's got plenty of them. None have shared a proper theme, until now. Finally, they all seem to fit together. Stretching, Kang says, all right, let's find a tower to test our new deck, and then head home. Back in the city, Kang's about to enter a building when people on the street start recognizing him. As he walks downstairs, he spots a kid snoring at a table. In his own subtle way, he wakes the brat up with a hard kick to the desk. The startled kid yells, who the hell are you? Kang glares and says, you've got 3 seconds to get up. But the spoiled brat smirks and says, do you know who I am? I'm the president's son. Kang couldn't care less. He grabs the kid by the hair, drags him outside, and shouts to the bystanders, out of the way. The Hero King's coming through. The kid panics, begging him to let go. Kang remembers asking the association to find someone he could use to test his new deck, someone who could also use some mentoring, but he's already regretting the request. The association had sent this inexperienced brat, and Kang doubts the kid could even clear a level 3 tower alone. When the kid realizes who he's dealing with, his jaw drops. Wait, you're the Hero King? You're really gonna help me reach level 4? Kang nods casually. Inside the Butcher's slaughterhouse tower, Kang gets ready to test the newbie's mettle and kicks him right on the backside to send him forward. The kid faceplants on the floor right in front of a pack of monsters. The moment they lunge, he panics and bolts for his life. With an annoyed look, Kang asks the kid what he's doing and why he isn't fighting back. Panicking, the brat shouts that letting him die here isn't a good idea. Kang notices that just as he suspected, the expensive armor the kid's wearing is what's keeping him alive. He doesn't actually know how to fight. These spoiled kids never have any real will of their own, Kang thinks. They'd always rely on someone else to push them forward. And these are supposed to be the ones protecting the world. While Kang's deep in thought, the kid is getting completely wrecked. Eventually he screams, help me. That's when Kang finally moves. He charges up his shadow power and wipes out the monsters in front of them, that destroys another wave that drops down from above. Feeling proud of himself, Kang turns to the kid and says, "That's how it's done." The brat gets furious, flicks him off, and yells that Kang's gonna regret it when his father finds out. Kang smirks and decides to give him a bit of false hope. He tells the kid this whole thing is a valuable lesson to make him do his best. Relieved, the kid asks, "So, that's what you had in mind?" But Kang doesn't spare anyone. With a grin, he replies, "Of course not, you useless sack of crap," and uses the opportunity to test his assassin aspect card, marking the boy and striking him down. As the kid collapses, Kang smiles and says, "Come back when you're strong enough to get revenge." The kid fails the mission, and both of them are transported back to the street. Still confused, the boy asks what just happened. Kang calmly tells him he died. The brat gets all worked up again, shouting that Kang will have to face his father and the mega corporation behind him. Kang laughs, completely unfazed. Grabbing the kid by the neck, he says, "I'm curious. What exactly could your little corporation do? The people who want me dead are national-level threats. You think your daddy's company is stronger than that?" In the middle of their argument, they both hear a click. The system pops up multiple notifications saying they've been selected for labyrinth number 999, one that's heavily influenced by the Monarch of Masks. Kang, the spoiled kid, and several others are teleported there. They realize they'll need to cooperate if they want to survive, and everyone feels relieved knowing the Hero King is among them. A new system message appears listing the rules of the game. 1. If a player is killed by another player, they fail but will be revived at the end of the labyrinth. 2. If they die to the labyrinth itself, they cannot be revived. 3. The labyrinth can be cleared either by defeating the boss Green King or by being the last surviving group. 4. 5 groups compete, each with similar power levels. 5. If 3 members of a group are eliminated, that group is disqualified. 6. The rules apply until the labyrinth is fully completed. The players start discussing how bad the situation is. With a half smile, Kang mutters that it's not the labyrinth that's going to kill him. It's these newbies. He asks everyone their levels, then they all step into the Hunter's Jungle Labyrinth. Almost instantly, monsters attack. Kang raises his shield and wipes them all out. Looking around, he sees that most of his team is inexperienced. Clearly, the system balanced the teams this way. That means our opponents are probably around level 40, he thinks. He realizes the enemy teams will see them as easy prey and tells Nora to protect everyone because the guests have arrived. Team C charges in, but Kang's already got a plan. He goes straight for 3 kills, knowing that if most of an opposing team is eliminated, their whole group is done for. A spy from another group spots him and recognizes the Hero King. Just as he's about to run off and warn his teammates, Kang catches him, but the spy manages to escape and rally his group to hunt down the weaker players. The spy later betrays his team, leading Nora straight to them, and Nora tears them all apart. One by one, the enemy groups fall. The system finally announces that the mission is complete. The first labyrinth has been cleared. The team celebrates, but a new message appears. Only 2 blessing tickets have been awarded, and the group must decide who gets them. Kang complains that he should take both since he did all the work, but the spoiled kid jumps in, saying he deserves one as forgiveness for what Kang did to him back in the tower. Another player, a level 20, argues that he should get one since he was the only one who actually helped fight. The argument gets heated fast, and before long, they're all on the verge of fighting each other. The 2 newbies try to calm things down, but Kang's already had enough of their nonsense. He ends it in an instant, saying, "These 2 should learn their place and be satisfied with the points they've already earned. Anyone else here got something to say about who deserves what?" The noobs, completely shocked, just stay silent. So Kang claims every single reward for himself. The next chapter opens with him opening 2 cards, hoping to finally pull something good. But, of course, he gets 2 more B-rank cards. Nora starts teasing him, saying he's got the worst luck imaginable. The system notifies him that he already has 2 Flame Resilience cards and asks if he wants to combine them. He accepts, and it upgrades into Fire Inhibitor, which increases resistance to fire attacks and has a 1-hour cooldown. Kang explains that having more blessings is always good, even if they're not that impressive. They're still better than regular skill cards in the long run since blessings stay with the player even after a season ends. While petting Nora, he says, "Now that I got this blessing, maybe I should look for a tower with a fire aspect next. What do you think about the level 6 Phoenix Nest?" Nora clearly disapproves, saying he's not a fan of fire and prefers somewhere dark and cold, typical of our Shadow Cat. Kang rubs his chin, saying Nora's too picky, but since he's cute, he'll find something that fits. Then the system interrupts with a message. The Tower of the Holy War is calling player Yuzong Kang. The pendant around his neck starts glowing, informing him that the bearer of the symbol of trust holds great influence. It adds that the tower is level 7 and asks, "Will you answer the tower's call?" Grinning, Kang mutters, "Guess they never give me a break," and steps right in. Upon arrival, he hears someone giving thanks to the gods of shadows for hearing their prayers. Then a regal elf queen appears, tall, elegant, and commanding, thanking him for answering her summons as well. Wait a second, that's her. The same arrogant princess he saved before, the one who gave him that necklace after acting all high and mighty. That scheming woman had this plan all along, playing 4D chess with our boy. Kang rises and says, "You're that princess from before," but before he can take a step toward her, two spears cross right in front of him. The guards warn him not to move another inch. He's standing before the Supreme Queen. The Queen steps forward and says, "I owe this man an immeasurable debt. Moreover, he has once again answered my call to aid us." Smiling, Kang remarks that she's gotten quite famous since they last met. He figures she must have been crowned queen after clearing the Pale Desert Tower. He steps closer and politely asks, "How may I serve your majesty?" Then wonders to himself, why did she ask for my help again, after safely returning home and ascending to the throne? We then cut to a scene where a soldier kneels before a priest, delivering urgent news. In disbelief, the priest cries out that the holy city has fallen to the ruler of the Ayub kingdom and prays desperately to the god of light. A narration begins. After the death of Pope Urban, the newly appointed Pope Gregory set out to reclaim the holy city. To do so, he summoned every human king across the continent. Richard, the Dragonheart King, Barbarossa, the Crimson-Bearded, and High King Philip II. Thus began the Third Holy War, a brutal conflict between the desert elves and humanity for control of the holy city. Kang, listening to all of this, nods and thinks, all right, I'm following so far, but basically, it's just a clash of faiths. Can't they just get along with each other? They're all heretics anyway. The princess says the three kings have begun leading their armies into war. They're probably heading for this fortress since it's the closest one to the holy city. Then she strikes a bold pose and asks, "Will you not fight for us in this war?" Kang, being the sly guy he is, puts a hand to his forehead and asks if that's the army of the Dragonheart King. The dark-haired elf is amazed that he can see that far. Our boy draws on his cards, swapping out Oculus for Ice Bolt. He then materializes a massive ice sniper rifle and aims it toward the enemies, saying, "Your Majesty, leave this to me." The system announces, Ice Bolt, 3-star upgrade. Effective range and damage drastically increased. Firearm manifestation enabled. Yeah, our protagonist isn't playing around. Honestly, I couldn't help but laugh when he pulled out that sniper. The scene cuts to him perched on a boulder like any good sniper, watching the enemy army from above. Kang steadies his aim, fires, and bang, one clean headshot. Someone yells, "It's the visitor from yesterday," and the commander shouts for the troops to raise their shields. They form a shield wall like Viking warriors, completely blocking his shots. Kang takes notice and says, "Looks like those shields were blessed by the Monarch of Flames. I've been seeing that guy a lot lately, ever since I started getting gifts from the Monarch of Frost." The commander orders Squad 2 to locate the visitor. Kang leaps from his perch and charges toward the enemy, grinning. Guess it's time to settle this. At that moment, the queen's elven archers rain arrows down on the enemy's shield wall. Someone screams, "Elves, should we regroup with the main force?" The commander yells, "No, we must find the visitor. The arrows of those heretics can't pierce the shield of the god of light." And right then, thunk, an arrow pierces his shield and buries itself straight into his skull. The princess smiles, saying everything's happening exactly as the visitor predicted, which means the enemy's main force should appear any moment now. A soldier shouts, "Why is the apostle fighting for the heretics?" Praying to his god as Nor tears through the battlefield. Our shadow cat summons the colossal whale again, and it smashes through the enemy ranks like an unstoppable force. Honestly, Nor's starting to look seriously overpowered. Then someone slices through Nor's shadows, yelling for the soldiers not to lose courage. Even Nor looks surprised. A soldier steps forward, raising his glowing red sword. "Hold your ground. Show no weakness before the god of light." That's King Richard, the Dragonheart King. He charges straight toward the elven queen, but then a massive shadow rises behind him. The king turns around and gets swallowed whole. Or so it seems until he lifts his crimson sword high, slashing through Nor's darkness and roaring. As the god of light commands, "Hear me, all you blasphemers." He plants his sword and shouts, "Advance." The soldiers go wild, yelling, "Amen." Kang just stands there dumbfounded, muttering, "Yeah, this might be bad." He begins channeling his ice blades, but suddenly a hail of arrows rains down on the enemy forces. An elf calls out to Kang to stay focused on the target, and more elves leap forward, shouting that they'll drive out the heretics in the queen's name. They rush in like crazed fanatics, grinning from ear to ear, and Kang can't help but think the same thing. These people are absolutely insane. The battle erupts into chaos. Swords clash, light and shadow collide, but the elves dominate, cutting down enemy soldiers left and right. The Dragonheart King watches his men fall, enraged, and charges forward, slicing down one of the elves. Kang meets his gaze, spreads his arms with both blades drawn, and smirks. Now this is starting to get interesting. Our boy charges forward, unleashing his signature wave of slashes, but the Dragonheart King blocks every single one just by raising his sword. He immediately rushes at Kang, asking if he has any idea who he's dealing with, and swings a clean slash. Kang dodges with ease and says, "You're the enemy who's about to give me a ton of rewards." Grabbing the Dragon King's head, he marks him with the seal of death and says, "Let's see if you really have the heart of a dragon." But something catches his attention. The system notifies him that a debuff has been activated. Weakness to target. Accuracy, dexterity, and evasion reduced by 50%. Our protagonist tries to back off, but the Dragon King roars, "You filthy heretics will never triumph over me," and out of nowhere, drives his sword into his poor horse. Yeah, F in the chat for that innocent horse, guys. Then a massive surge of power erupts into a devastating explosion. Kang defends himself from the blast, completely baffled by how the Dragon King can still fight with such absurd strength even after suffering a 50% debuff. The king starts chanting a ritual. I offer this sacrifice of blood in your name, my lord. Grant me the strength to wipe out these heretics. He charges toward Kang, who immediately swaps his Ice Bolt ability for telekinetic blades. The Dragon Knight swings a fiery red slash, but Kang parries it and counterattacks with a flurry of flying swords colliding against the king's blade. Then, blood-soaked hands rise from the ground, clutching at the Dragon King as his body starts morphing into something monstrous. Crouched low like Spider-Man, Kang notices the veins bulging and pulsing stronger than before, probably due to all the blood. He drops his sword, spreads his arms, and says, "Perfect opportunity to test something." He activates a new ability. An expanding magic circle appears around him. Kang raises a finger and commands, "Rise." And there he is, folks, Sung Jinwoo 2.0. The dead soldiers begin standing back up, reanimated under his command. The Dragon King bellows, "Do you think these abominations can stop me?" But then he looks to his side, startled by a strange cracking sound. This is his new skill, Raise Undead Warriors. As expected, the resurrected obey their summoner, and their bodies are restructured for battle. Sharp spikes burst out from the corpses of the undead. The Dragon King freezes in shock as the horde charges toward him. One of them manages to land a hit, forcing the king to drop to his knees as the undead fade away. The system informs Kang that his proficiency is too low to maintain the effect for long. But the job's already done. The Dragon King kneels on the ground, and Kang steps forward and Selesh adds another to his kill count. Sung Jinwoo from Walmart strikes again. The scene cuts back to the queen's palace. Kang opens a chest and presents the queen with the Dragonheart King's severed head. The shameless woman thanks him for his efforts but reminds him that they only defeated one of the 3 heretic kings. This war, she says, has only just begun. Kang understands, closes the chest, and later that night stands by the window gazing at the view, clearly not thrilled about her words. He decides to turn in for the night. But then something strange happens. Multiple green portals appear behind him. And out pops our supreme capitalist, grinning. "So you've maxed out your Ice Blade materialization skill. If you upgrade to shop, you'll be able to buy the advancement stone." Kang smiles faintly and says, "I was wondering when you'd show up. I figured you wouldn't want to sit around waiting for customers in a level 7 tower." He spends 3 million points, upgrades the shop, buys the advancement stone, and fuses it with the Ice Blade, unlocking Ice Artificer. This skill grants 3 effects, but the most overpowered one is that he can now use any Ice Aspect skill card, even if it isn't equipped in his deck. In other words, our boy just became the Ice-type Yu-Gi-Oh! Master. The scene cuts to our guy looking up and saying the weather's about to change. He summons a bunch of ice blades and starts cutting everything around him, chuckling that today's a good day to meet their maker. A handful of soldiers appear and are gone in a single frame, wiped out that fast. Kang keeps moving forward, saying their leader clearly doesn't want to show himself even though his men are falling, so he figures he has no choice but to go to the tent himself. Then we flash back to the queen talking with him earlier. "Visitor, our scouts report that Redbird Barbarossa moved his camp last night with only a small contingent of soldiers." Kang compliments her intel team, but she says those reports came from human sources. He looks confused, so she explains, "See, the 3 kings actually hold long-standing hostility toward one another. They're still fighting in secret. Our source may not be perfectly reliable, but we can't ignore an opportunity like this. After all, Redbird's army is the strongest of the 3. My elite units are at your disposal. I'd like you to take this mission with them." Back to the present, Kang stands at the tent flap thinking, "I was planning to kill the target and run if things went bad." The intel seemed legit, but the king wasn't anywhere to be found until Kang throws back the curtains and sends a wave of ice across the ground, saying he found him and asking why he was hiding there. The man collapses, spilling his goblet of wine. Kang eyes the cup and wonders if it was poisoned. He ends up laughing like a maniac, and a soldier runs in to report that everything's secure, only to freeze at the scene and ask if Redbird is really dead. It hits Kang. In the real world, nations have been waging war from day 1 of the season, sending assassins after prominent players from other countries, putting national interests above everything. He stomps on the poisoned glass in fury and calls it ridiculous. The queen starts sweating. Was he really poisoned by his own allies? So the intel wasn't a trap. Kang spreads his arms and says they just wanted to make sure Redbird would die. She's horrified. Who would betray their own when a war's coming? Kang replies coolly, "I'd say they did it because war is imminent." Not only did they claim the glory for themselves, they also weakened 2 rival kingdoms. The queen, trying to stay composed, says their main concern now is the Grand King's army. Kang points out they'll still have to deal with the surviving forces of the other kings. Those troops will probably now be under the Grand King's command. After all, this is a holy war. The scene shifts to a soldier running into a tent, breathless, reporting that the heretics attacked Redbird and annihilated all the knights under his command. A man in golden armor smiles and says they can pin the blame on the elves. The hypocrite is King Philip. He rubs his hands and says, "Splendid. Now his troops will be mine." He raises his hand and declares that with 2 kings fallen, The remaining soldiers will have no choice but to join him. A nearby commander bows and says, "Your Majesty, you will defeat the heretics and restore the sanctity of the holy city. We are prepared to fight at your side." The skimmer grins and laughs, calling himself an instrument of God who received a heavenly message urging everyone to seek vengeance in his name and proposing that the troops once led by Redbeard and the Dragonheart King be placed at the front lines. What a slay king. Still, I kind of like that kind of villain. At least until the protagonist shows up and slices his head clean off. Even as he's dying, Philip still says, "You can trust my judgment. I'm guided by the angel of the Lord." The scene cuts to our guy standing tall, watching the enemy forces. He mutters, "The Dragonheart King's troops, Redbird's armored soldiers, and a new army, all marching under the same banner." Then he realizes what's happening. They're using the other king's troops as human shields. Classic move, he says. That's what war mages are best at. The soldiers begin shouting, "Cleanse the heretics in the name of the God of Light, in the name of peace." The protagonist just sighs, saying he's read that exact same war cry in some history book before. Do they really think killing all their enemies will bring peace? He turns around, pulls out a card, Zephyr, summon the Western Wing for battle. The system confirms the buff has been activated successfully. Then he launches himself into the sky, raining down ice magic across the enemy front line. The soldier spots him and shouts, "That's the visitor. Let's repay him for what he did to our king. Hold the line." King Philip himself draws his sword, declaring, "God of Light, lead us to victory." In an instant, he unleashes a massive wave of fire, completely canceling out Kang's ice magic. One of the random soldiers cheers, saying the gods are with them. The elves on the other side draw their bows too. One of them says the same thing, except their god is the god of shadows. System notifications start popping up. Multiple councils have joined the war. The Shadow Council, the Frost Council, and more. Kang narrows his eyes, thinking, what do the gods even gain from all this? Explosions start erupting everywhere, and soldiers raise their shields to block the elves' arrows. He's clearly getting angry now. I dare say these gods are nothing but evil beings. That's when Nor shows up, telling him to stop talking nonsense and just do the job he was hired for. Kang cracks his neck and says Nor is right. He's ending this here and now because he's sick of it already. The next chapter opens with a message from the Shadow Council. Do not disappoint us. We temporarily grant you 100 shadow puppets. He lands on one of them and grins. Well, aren't they being generous? Then he notices something. Those same angels he'd beaten earlier are back. He smirks. Guess the enemy got some serious reinforcements. He orders, find those rank 9 angels or yours puppets, go wild. Smiling, he adds, I'm only interested in one guy. And right then, King Philip drops from above, swinging down in a vertical slash. Kang dodges just in time. Philip laughs and Kang freezes for a second. That cape? How does he have that? Is he a player too? Philip grins wider. You're a heretic yourself, bastard. He rushes forward, shouting, I, King Philip, will destroy you in the name of light. Kang smirks. Gotta admit, you make a hell of a villain for someone who claims to serve the light. Philip attacks again, their blades clashing violently. Kang blocks and counters, but Philip backs away and Kang mutters, this game sucks. Everyone's got wings but me. Guess what happens next? Yep, the Shadow Monarch himself buffs Kang, granting him the wings of shadow. Kang stares in disbelief for a second, then bursts into a grin as a massive pair of wings spreads out behind him. Still, he looks over his shoulder and scoffs, seriously? These wings look like they're from some outdated old game. If this fight takes to the skies, the deck I carefully fine-tuned becomes practically useless. Philip smirks and says, now this is a worthy opponent. Their blades clash midair as they glare at each other. The king says, it seems you're struggling. This is the price one pays for defying the god of light. Kang scoffs and tells him he's way too obsessed with that so-called god, asking if poisoning Redbird was also part of that divine plan, all while preparing a sneak attack with his telekinetic blades. But Philip catches on, shouting, cheap tricks won't defeat me, you wretch, and repels every single sword. Then he adds, you're right. Poisoning him was the will of God, before charging toward Kang, saying he was blessed by Seraph. He roars, everything I desire is also the desire of the god of light, only to slice through nothing but an ice clone. Yeah, we've officially entered the Naruto arc now. Ice clones and all. The cocky hero even sticks his tongue out at him. Philip freezes in shock, and our boy doesn't waste a chance. You can tell a finishing slash is coming. Driving his sword straight through the arrogant king's chest, Kang says, after using those wings myself, I realized they narrow your field of vision. But then the blade starts glowing. The system flashes an alert. An archangel of rank 8 has descended upon the great king's body. Kang immediately flies back at full speed as Philip's entire body erupts in radiant light. Boom! A massive explosion of light tears through the sky. Kang shields himself as best he can. When the glow fades, the king's wound has already healed. He's standing there, arms wide open, glowing like some Enon final boss, halo and all. Poor fool doesn't realize he's just another side character. He glares at Kang, who thinks I thought only demons could inhabit human bodies. Looks like angels can too. The two lock eyes. Their swords shimmer as both weapons gain absurd new attributes. They charge again and the clash echoes like thunder. Everyone around them stops to watch. Rain pours down, all you can see is a blinding flash above. It's Kang, charging straight for the angel, swinging relentlessly slash after slash. But sweat starts dripping down his face. The angel manages to slice off one of Kang's wings. The angel grins and dives, aiming to drive his sword through Kang's chest. Kang lets out a shout, and the severed wing suddenly sprouts shadowed spikes that stab into the angel's body. The holy warrior's eyes go wide in disbelief. In that instant, Kang's ice blades streak forward, impaling the angel over and over. Kang, breathing hard, checks the angel's neck to confirm the kill. The angel, half frozen, tries to speak, but the system interrupts. Boss defeated. Great King Angel. In perfect Sun Jinwoo fashion, Kang mutters, "Too bad for you. I don't need wings to fight in the sky." He then launches the other wing toward the falling angel. Down below, the soldiers start shouting that something's falling from above. One of them realizes what it is, the angel himself. They stare in shock as the glowing body crashes to the ground, riddled with Kang's blades. The system announces, the course of history has been altered. As a result, his equipment changes, granting him a corrupted special item and 100,000 points. Kang sighs, finally relaxing. It's over at last. A blinding flash hits as he exits the tower. A global announcement rings out. He's the first player to complete a level 7 tower. Naturally, there are already 1,000 reporters waiting for him. He tries to cover his face, wondering how the hell he ended up outside his own house. One wild reporter yells, "I noticed the cross on your coat is gone. Did you change equipment while inside the tower?" These reporters are ridiculously observant. Honestly, if I hadn't seen it myself, I wouldn't have noticed. Kang just shrugs. Yeah, I think so. They keep bombarding him with questions while Mr. Park shows up, complaining to the driver that they got there way too late. The woman tells him to relax, saying he's been trying too hard to protect Kang lately. Park just replies that he's only trying to stop the kid from doing something reckless. But our boy grabs the microphone and says, "Do you all want to hear me say it again? I'm sick of this crap. Sometimes I wonder why I even bother saving the world. It just doesn't seem worth it anymore. But today, I feel like talking." With a cold, unsettling smile, he asks, "Do you like wars?" The reporters look at each other, murmuring, "Wars?" Still smiling, he says, "Yes, wars, those where molten iron drips down castle walls, arrows fly in every direction, and guts are scattered everywhere." The reporters stare in disbelief, like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Kang continues, "This is the 21st century. In our time, it's missiles falling from the sky, people riddled with bullets, innocents blown apart by fighter jets. Either way, there are always guts scattered somewhere. So tell me, do you all like war?" Everyone starts sweating and nervously says no. No one likes war. Kang laughs softly and says, "They're awful, whether you win or lose." Then he remembers his talk with the Elf Queen. She once said, "I'm glad I got my revenge, yet now I'm consumed by fear." Kang had asked her, "You've already defeated everyone, so what could you possibly fear now?" And she replied, "I keep wondering, this war, these deaths, this horrible outcome, is this really what our goddess wanted?" Returning his gaze to the reporters, he says, "Exactly. I understand your answers now. There's no reason ordinary people would ever like war." Then he raises his voice again. "All right, next question. Do you like heroes?" A blonde reporter thinks for a moment and nods, saying, "Yes, I do." Kang tilts his head. "Then tell me, why are heroes called heroes?" He spreads his arms wide and answers his own question. "It's because of their outstanding performance on the battlefield. In other words, heroes are a byproduct of war. So how can you claim to like one, but hate the other? I think you're lying. You like war more than you admit." Every reporter's jaw drops to the floor. One stammers, "Mr. Kang, that's an incredibly broad and distorted statement. Your argument reflects an outdated worldview. It doesn't apply in modern society." Kang grins sarcastically. "Outdated, huh? You know, our neighbors up north, and even further north, and those to the west, send assassins after me every single season without fail. That's war too. Espionage is just another form of it." The blonde reporter blurts out, "Wait, are you saying there have been assassination attempts against you from foreign nations?" Kang covers his mouth dramatically, pretending to gasp. "Oh, you didn't know that? Guess that was supposed to be classified info. Oops, I just can't seem to keep my mouth shut." Our boy is straight up exposing governments on live TV. "Careful, man, in some countries that'll get you locked up." Another reporter quickly jumps in. "You mentioned our northern neighbors. Could you be more specific?" Kang smirks. "Sorry, can't share any more details." Meanwhile, his phone starts ringing. Then a line of black cars pulls up beside the press crowd. Oh, looks like our guy's about to get detained." Still calm, he keeps talking. "So after all this thinking about war, it hit me. These people are too busy fighting among themselves, even though the world could end tomorrow. They realize players can be used as weapons, so they send us into their wars. They even asked me to fight their national enemies instead of the world's real ones. They actually believe they'll survive this season easily, without me or any of the other so-called war heroes." To finish with a bang, he spreads his arms wide and says, "So tell me, why should I even bother saving this world?" Everyone freezes in shock, even Mr. Park. A moment later, his phone picks up his voice as he rephrases the question. "Does the world even deserve to be saved?" The blonde woman and her assistant just stand there speechless. No one knows how to react. Then one brave reporter finally blurts out, "Yes, the world does deserve to be saved." Kang tilts his head and calmly asks, "Why?" A random guy in the crowd yells, "Because we can't allow innocent people to die. You can't just abandon your duty as a player. As the hero king, you're supposed to be an example for everyone." Our boy lets out a long sigh. Then, out of nowhere, that twisted clown voice echoes, "Why so serious?" It says we can become a hero or we can become a villain. We can be whatever we want to be on this stage. And honestly, it feels like our guy's about to lose it. He gives a dark, critic smile and says, "Relax, I was just kidding. You don't need to take what I say so seriously." Realizing what's about to happen, Mr. Park shouts his name, grabs him by the arm and pulls him away, flashing his badge and yelling for everyone to move aside. Before leaving, Kang turns toward the cameras and says, "Anyway, for everyone watching this, please stop bothering me with all that talk about duty or player convictions or whatever else. You really don't want to see what happens when an idiot like me starts taking his convictions seriously." Then he points at one of the reporters. "Make sure this airs on TV." They try to stop him, calling for him to wait, but Mr. Park's already dragging him out at full speed. Right after that speech, the system pops up. The Monarch of Jesters is absolutely delighted. The Monarch of War is impressed. Reward granted, class blessing. Mr. Park sighs, saying he'll go downstairs to handle a few problems and asks Kang to take care of the rest. But before he can, several new system windows appear in front of our protagonist. The Monarch of Parallel Worlds laughs maniacally and grants the tracking talisman. Effect: you may apply the keyword X9 against an opponent in battle. The talisman constantly whispers only to its bearer, analyzing the target's weaknesses and increasing the chance of critical strikes. Kang just stares at it, then closes his eyes and ignores the whole thing. The scene cuts to a news broadcast reporting, "The Hero King has become the target of terrorist attacks carried out by foreign nations. Public outrage against the government is growing rapidly." Mr. Park shows up holding a beer bottle and asks, "Why are you even listening to that? Don't you think you went a little too far this time?" Kang glances at him and asks, "Are you mad?" Park shakes his head. "Of course not." He ruffles Kang's hair and says softly, "I know how hard this is for you. I can't get angry, not when nobody else understands what you're going through like I do." Kang exhales, half relieved, and jokes, "Well, there's the French saint." Park immediately cuts him off. "That crazy girl? She's not even close to me. Get real, kid." Kang laughs and thanks him for always being around. The old man doesn't even reply, he just keeps drinking his beer. Curious, Kang asks, "What's your class again?" Park answers, "Pureblood Assassin." Then Kang asks, "So you completed your awakening? Get anything good?" Park grins and releases a deadly aura. "I got this, the Heartbreaker, a legendary dagger." Kang admits, a little embarrassed, "Yeah, I managed to corrupt a legendary piece of gear myself." Park warns him, "Take it slow. You'll get yourself hurt if you keep throwing your life into this stuff." Then he smirks and adds, "Come on, let's get some fresh air. I know a perfect level 7 tower we can hit together." They arrive at the Godfather and Underworld Tower. The old man tells him to get ready and warns that the road ahead is full of betrayals, conflict, and general filth. Kang raises a hand and says, "Feels like I wandered into a Manhwa movie." Cut to a rainy alley. A blonde guy says, "You've got until summer," hands over a small object, and tells him not to forget, this is for the peace of our time. He opens a broken watch and says it's a shame it's damaged because it was a present from his godfather. Kang complains about the rain and tells Mr. Park to pull his hood up so it won't ruin his hair straightener. The blonde notices them, runs up and calls for help, addressing them as strangers. Kang and Park exchange looks, wondering if that's what people call visitors in this town. The blonde begins to explain this is Black York and his family is in danger. Kang replies that danger is their specialty. He notices the huge orbs the blonde woman is carrying and until now thought she was a boy. She waves them inside and says she'll take them to her boss. Inside the place, she explains that the city is controlled by 5 underworld families: Capone, Falcone, Gambino, Sanchez, and Collio. A meeting is scheduled in 3 days to decide ownership of several major businesses. However, her godfather, who was also head of the Capone family, was killed along with several executive members. Kang looks intrigued and asks, "Godfather?" The blonde woman explains that she used to be an orphan, wandering the city's alleys. By luck, she gained an ability, but it wasn't much use at first, until her godfather adopted her. Life got a lot better. He was her savior. Kang nods while Mr. Park pokes at everything like a curious kid. The woman continues, "During the attack, she only managed to save the son of her savior, and now that son is the head of the family." Then a man with a cigar welcomes them and introduces himself as the president of Capone Enterprises, known, more bluntly, as the boss of the Capone family. Mr. Park blurts out, "This kid's the boss." Sure enough, a blonde kid steps forward, snarling at Mr. Park and insisting his name is Vito Capone, the legitimate heir and head of the Capone family. The woman tells Mr. Park to calm down and says the foreigner is a poor judge of character. The kid's presence radiates charisma. Mr. Park is left flustered. The kid puts a hand over his mouth and says, all right, we don't have much time. Let's get to the point. Go ahead, Rebecca." Oh, so the woman's name is Rebecca. The others exchange shocked looks that she's actually a woman. Rebecca says they want to restore the Capone family's glory. They need to secure as many businesses as possible at the upcoming meeting, and they must neutralize the men who killed the boss and the executives, plus the mastermind behind the attack. Kang asks if they have any idea who might be responsible. Rebecca says they suspect one of the 4 other family heads or possibly that they're all working together. Among them, Gambino is their primary suspect. He hasn't established a solid position in the organization yet, so he's likely trying to start a war. Kang studies the photos and asks, "Can I just kill them all?" Rebecca answers that it's a fine option. Any enemy of the family will eventually be marked for elimination anyway. Kang glances to the side and says, "Your boss doesn't seem to agree with that." She looks at him, and the kid almost has a heart attack before saying, "The Capones have always been powerful, but they reached their peak under my father's rule. And for 2 decades, Rebecca saw firsthand how he made it happen. Whatever she says reflects the Capone way. I never disagree with her." Our protagonist replies, "But you're the boss, not Rebecca." Sweating, the kid mutters, "Well, she knows more than I do, so..." Kang cuts him off. "So you also want to kill them all?" Rubbing his head, the kid says, "I'd rather keep things as they are until we're sure. That's what my father did too." When he looks at Rebecca and asks if that's a bad choice, she smiles and tells him no, then adds that he's adorable. Mr. Park stretches his back and says that a conflict between 5 crime families is a pretty strange thing. Kang decides, "We'll hit the Kalios first. They're the closest." Resting his chin on his hand, he says, "You sounded like a cliché villain just now, Mr. Park." Grinning, the old man answers, "No better time to act like one. Don't forget, this world's just a game." The two are already storming some building. The poor guards ask who they are and what they want with the Kallio family. Blood splatters everywhere. The poor guys don't even know what hit them. Mr. Park shouts, "If you want to surrender, now's the time. Anyone who talks gets to live." One soldier yells back, "You'll get nothing from us. Screw you, idiots." Then the old assassin moves in, slashing through everyone in sight. Kang watches and mutters, "Damn, he looks like he's actually having fun." Then a man bursts through the door, yelling that they're cowards for attacking right before the meeting. Turns out that's Kallio himself. A soldier being held by the collar screams, "Do you think our boss would hide from trash like you?" Mr. Park grins and asks, "Can you fly?" Then throws the man straight at Kallio, calling for Kang to come join the fun. Kang smirks and says he's in. The old man points and reminds him, "You're here to relax, remember? You can leave this one to me." That's probably the weirdest exchange in this whole story. Even Kang looks confused. He chuckles, aims his ice crystals forward and says, "Fine, I'll clear the way for you." He fires and Mr. Park charges straight at Kallio. Kang keeps slicing through the extras, but suddenly we see a shoe. It looks like a woman's. Please, author, let it belong to some gorgeous waifu. Turns out it's a woman flying outside the house, watching as Mr. Park slaughters everyone. Mr. Park notices her presence, and so does Kang. They both wonder, crows? Holding a feather, Kang mutters that he's got a bad feeling about this, that there's something deeper going on behind these so-called games. The chapter ends with the woman flying off at full speed. Previously, the Kallio family was wiped out. Next target, the Gambino family. Kang's watching the chaos, saying, "Damn, he's tearing the whole place apart." He wonders what the old man's doing there and says he can't even remember the last time he saw Mr. Park fight this seriously. Looking down while Noor devours everything, he mutters that he doesn't really want to show that power to Mr. Park. Grinning at Noor, he says, "Make sure you eat every last one of them." Noor burps and grumbles that his human is lazy, asking if he's comfortable. Kang just shrugs, "I'm off duty today." Cut to a diner. Mr. Park asks, "You've been eating cheeseburgers every meal since we got here. Aren't you sick of them yet?" With his mouth full, Kang says, "No, the cheeseburgers here are amazing," and he wants to eat as many as he can. The old assassin says there might be something even better than that. Muttering, the kid says, "You don't know how disappointing it is to eat at a terrible restaurant during a holiday." Changing the subject, he asks what Gambino said. With a suddenly serious face, Mr. Park replies that Gambino didn't know anything. Chewing and teasing the old man, Kang says, "And you told us you'd handle everything." Park answers confidently that he guarantees Gambino won't cause trouble at this meeting. He can be trusted on that. The scene cuts to a long-haired man on the phone complaining that someone isn't answering calls. He wonders if the Sanchez and Falcone families really teamed up to get rid of the Capones. Coughing up blood, he curses that those bastards dragged him into this mess and now nobody's picking up. Back with Mr. Park, he says, "You've got 72 hours before the blood flow and your heart knots up and explodes, unless I release the pressure points in your chest." He asks, "You get where I'm going, right?" The man nods and says Gambino won't participate in the bidding war at the meeting. Will also fully support finding the mastermind behind Capone's death. Pointing a finger at the man's temple, Park says, "Good. Looks like you're a quick kid. I'll stop for now, but I'll see you around." Gambino sits there grinding his teeth, even tearing his cigar in half. Kang is chewing something and says, "So they didn't learn a thing." Mr. Park, like a stern parent, says, "Don't chew ice. It'll ruin your teeth. We'll find out at the meeting." He adds he suspects more than the 5 families are involved. Time passes and those crows are still circling, watching. The Capone family arrives at some place. The next scene cuts to a mummy, Vito and Gambino sitting at a table. The mummy is Marcellus Kallio, leader of the Kallio family, saying they're late. Gambino replies they're 2 men down. The world's most precocious kid is trembling, insisting that Sanchez and Falcone murdered his father. Rebecca, the woman who was flying earlier, says it's too soon to jump to conclusions and asks the kid to wait a bit. He says she's always right. She gives a little villainous smile. Rebecca's acting a bit strange, isn't she? Suddenly, a thug bursts in and shouts, "Boss, you need to hear this." The boss asks if he's sure were Sanchez and Falcone killed. Our kid concludes there's another enemy involved. Mr. Park says he suspected as much. The 5 families were too weak. Kang, finishing another burger, is disappointed. He thought he'd gotten stronger. Then everyone hears a click as a light comes on. They look toward the stage and the crow woman appears. She says, "Welcome, vile pests who profane this city. You conspire with corrupt politicians, exploit the poor by controlling unions, extort, and blackmail for any pretext. You filthy worms disturb the peace and order of the city." She shouts that she's exposed their sins and declares, "I, Nightcrow, will now bring justice upon you." Kid Capone shouts, asking if she was the one who wiped out Sanchez and Falcone. Nightcrow stomps the ground and says, "Yes, those worms deserve to die, just like your father. That's brutal." Then she launches a flurry of razor feathers at Kid Capone. Rebecca, no longer the story's villain, steps in front of him and tells him to get behind her. Nightcrow is stunned that Rebecca blocked the attack. Then she remembers the night Mr. Capone was killed and Vito's claim that Rebecca was the one who did it. She says she heard the same. With a crazed smile, Nightcrow vows that this woman will pay for what she did. Nightcrow screams, calling them bastards. Our boy jumps into the fight, saying there are way too many people in this world who deserve to die. Then, boom, the giant whale of darkness, Nora, shows up and devours everything. Goddamn, it looks like Nora literally ended the whole fight with one bite. That's our cat. Petting him, Kang says, "So that was the real enemy?" Nightcrow was a joke. But turns out he spoke too soon, because in the next chapter, Nightcrow dodges and moves away, slashing through Nora's shadow. The cat yelps in pain, and Kang realizes this woman's stronger than he thought. He lunges forward, grabs her cloak, points a finger at her head, and says, "Bang." Right then, the death mark activates, putting a brutal debuff on her, dropping dexterity and evasion by 1,000 points each. He switches skills and summons X9, which opens a status window showing all the enemy's abilities. The crazy bird starts screaming, feathers sharp as blades are launching from her cloak. Watch out. She's hiding tons of explosives. Watch out. Nightcrow attacks, but it's just Kang's shadow clone. Naruto would have been proud. Kang says she's just a terrorist pretending to be a hero. Noticing the debuff, Nightcrow snarls, "A skill that weakens your opponent, so you're a foreigner." Then she whistles and her crows charge at insane speed, exploding everywhere. Explosive crows, damn, that's evil. A true villain move. Mr. Park dodges, leaping side to side, saying there are too many of them. Then he yells at Kang, saying he thinks they SWAT roles since his class specializes in one-on-one combat. Kang mocks him, saying, "You're the one who said the bosses are yours. That guy's a hero, and we've got to protect his bosses. Besides, you're way better at protecting people than I am." Still jumping and dodging, Park shouts, "What are you talking about? I told you I'm a pure-blooded assassin." Then Kang gives that psychotic grin and says, "Killing people just happens to be my specialty." He swings his sword, but Nightcrow blocks and yells, "You should be protecting the world. Why side with evil?" Kang replies that he doesn't want to save the world, he just wants rewards. Nightcrow spreads his arms, pleading, "I don't know what lies they told you, but those bastards are rotten to the core, especially the Capones. They massacred my family. And still, the courts declared them innocent, too scared of retaliation to act. That's the reality of this filthy city. That's why we took justice into our own hands. It's not too late. Join us in our fight against these scum for the peace of this city." Blood bursts out mid-sentence. Nightcrow is completely impaled by Nora's spikes. Kang scratches his ear and says, "You talk too much." Then he walks over, rips off the mask, and says he hates people who wear things like that. He's shocked. It's just a kid. The boy clutches something inside his coat, saying, "Don't underestimate true justice." Click. Kang just stands there looking dumbfounded, asking what the hell he just did. A massive explosion erupts on the upper floors. Grinning through the flames, Nightcrow says, "That woman told me 3 days ago the summit would happen here. Guess how many explosives I planted?" The explosion intensifies and Kang's left speechless. But Mr. Park rushes in and Kang quickly summons Nor together to escape. From a distance, the whole place goes up in flames. When the smoke clears, Rebecca thanks the two of them for not running away from the fight. She explains that most of the businesses discussed at the summit are now under Capone control. Kang smiles and says, "The young boss survived and the Capones came out on top, just like you wanted." Indeed, his job there was done. With that serious look on his face, he said he still had one more question. 8 blades formed around her neck as he said, "Was all of this part of your plan?" She calmly replied, "And what does that have to do with you?" Spreading his arms, Kang said, "I was hired to eliminate every enemy of the Capone family. That would include you, since you betrayed everyone, took part in the assassination of Capone's executive members, and even ordered the hero to kill the other family bosses." Rebecca asked what proof he had. Kang pulled out one of Nightcrow's feathers and said, "I heard it straight from the hero himself. He told me you sold out the Capones. You're the traitor, eliminating the rival families and putting a kid in charge as a puppet. You become the ruler of Black York. I'd say that makes you an enemy of the Capones, too." She smiled, saying she'd never do that. Everything she did was for young Master Vito. She explained that he was too kind and naive. That's why she killed the godfather who forced him into becoming the successor and removed every external threat. With her hands together, she said everything she'd done was to protect him from this cruel world, that as his guardian she did what had to be done. Kang replied that either way she stabbed the man who raised her in the back just to take control of the city, using a child as a puppet. That's when Mr. Park stepped forward and said, "You're no guardian. All you did was make that kid helpless so you could reap the rewards." Smirking, she said they had no solid proof to incriminate her. But Park opened a door and said, "Let's see what this person has to say about it." Rebecca froze. The boy stood there crying, unable to believe what she'd done. Begging, she asked him to wait, but something dark was consuming her. Then Vito said, "You were right about one thing, Rebecca." He clenched his fist, pulled out a Glock, and said, "This world really is cruel." Bang. The system popped up, tower cleared. All enemies of the Capone family have been eliminated. Mr. Park walked off, saying he wanted to be the protagonist in a noir film. Kang teased him, saying, "You'll never be a protagonist, and this wasn't even a noir. It was more like a superhero flick." The old man laughed and said they should do this more often. Then a random underling rushed in, saying, "Sir, we've got a problem." He reported a level 5 tower in Seoul on the verge of a tower break. Both of them froze at the news, and Kang even started sweating. The next chapter opened explaining that the tower in question was level 5, and it had been challenged by a group of players from the association. After failing their first attempt, they managed to retreat. One guy was yelling at the others, saying that when a tower attempt fails, the entire team loses 3 points and everyone gets demoted. Nervous, another one said they could fix it. They just had to clear the tower on hard mode. The whole team stared at him like he'd lost his mind. The mushroom-headed leader shouted, "What? Did you forget how hard we worked to get this far? You want to end up back on the association's leash again?" The 3 others lowered their heads and muttered no. He went on, "Then we've got to clear our penalty points no matter what. We have to beat it on hard mode." So the group entered the tower again, this time on hard. The result? Total annihilation. Kang said he'd heard the association's point system was strict, but this was just insane. He started thinking about the tower break. While it's rare these days, it was pretty common during the first 2 seasons. Back then, when no one knew what to expect, failure was normal and the consequences were brutal. Every tower collapse led to countless deaths, including the ones they loved. But now, he said, things are different. He opened his stash of unused equipment and skill cards. 3 items appeared, 1 legendary, 2 rare. Storyteller's Tracker Talisman, Bracelet of the Wind, and Ring of Power. Among the cards were 2 legendaries. One was an overcoat that reduced defense by 900 but boosted evasion by 1200 and dexterity by 300. The other was the Shadow Mantle, which expanded the player's shadow into a cloak that engulfed the area in darkness. Now our boy was fully geared up for the tower break. He swapped out his bracelets and tweaked one of his abilities. At that moment, the system announced that the tower break was about to begin. Our boy stepped out of the car looking like a total Chad, and the crowd immediately started screaming that the Hero King had arrived. But Kang didn't look happy at all. He just stared up at the sky, already sensing something bad was coming. While the idiots around him were cheering and thanking him for being there, something began to emerge from the portal, and a crimson light flashed across the sky. The system started a countdown. 10-9. One random hero shouted that it was starting and told everyone to stay alert. 8-7-6. Kang placed a hand on the guy's shoulder and said, "If you fit into any of the following categories, you'd better get the hell out of here." He raised a finger. "First, anyone caught up in my skill will die. Second, anyone who can't keep up with my pace will die. Third, everyone except me will die." The tower break began. Monsters started pouring out, and Kang unleashed his full shadow power as the other so-called heroes bolted for their lives. The creatures kept swarming, but Kang was slicing through everything with his shadows, saying there were all kinds of monsters out there, orcs, lizard things, and some others so weird he couldn't even tell what they were supposed to be. Judging by the tower's name, he guessed the previous players had probably fought humans inside, which meant these monsters didn't even belong to that tower. He frowned, wondering where the hell they were coming from. Suddenly, a reporter in a helicopter appeared, shouting, "Take a look at this, folks. The Hero King is single-handedly holding the entire field against a level 5 tower break on hard mode. Even though some people criticize him, his skills are unmatched." This reporter was either brave or completely insane, flying over a tower break just to make a broadcast. Somebody give that guy a trophy. Then red lightning started streaking across the sky, and the system announced, "Entertain me more." The Monarch of the Abyss was summoning the deepest darkness from within. The reporter kept talking like his life didn't matter, explaining that the portal had changed color, meaning an abyssal monster was coming through. Meanwhile, Kang kept tearing through everything in sight, muttering, "That reporter's really committed to his job. Leave now before I throw you to the monsters." Then he rushed straight toward the abyssal creature the Monarch had summoned. The system identified it as an abyssal slime. Kang smirked and launched all his blades at it, though he quickly realized that wouldn't be enough. He leaped down with Nora beside him, raised his hand, and said, "To kill something like this, you need something big." He summoned massive ice spikes and activated the Charlotte's Web skill card. You don't need to be a genius to figure out what that one does. The web shot out, wrapping the slime and shredding it into cubes. Nora was ecstatic, gobbling everything up. The system announced that the abyssal slime had been defeated. The tower break was stopped, and the monarch of the abyss, pleased by the display, granted him the abyssal jewel. And of course, right after that, guess who showed up again? Yeah, everyone's favorite overpaid profession. 5,000 reporters swarmed the scene announcing that the Hero King had stopped the tower break all by himself. Kang just stood there looking cool as ever with his cat by his side, getting ready to like this video. It helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.